We're at quorum.
Excellent. All right. Welcome everybody to the November full board meeting of Community Board 8. Just want to remind everybody that if you would like to speak during the public session, you have to do so online. You can't just raise your hand during the meeting. So if you haven't done that and you would like to do that, you have until 6:45 to sign up to speak in the public session online where you signed in to get to the meeting. And with that, I will turn it over to Will.
So as we move to the public session, you'll have 2 minutes each to speak. You can help us find you as your name is called by the chair by going to the reactions icon when you hear your name and pressing the raise hand button. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. Only press it whenever your name is called. Do not press it in advance, expecting to be called, because then you'll be in the way, frankly. If you're having problems finding the raise hand feature and your name is not correctly labeled, just chat me or Saida. We're happy to help you. You'll notice everyone is muted. You can stay muted throughout the duration of the meeting, except for whenever you're called on to start the public session. So you'll look for a little prompt on your screen to confirm unmuting whenever Chair Squire calls your name. With that, I'll hand it over to Russell and we can get the public session started.
Excellent. Let's start with Matt Bauer.
All right, Matt, go ahead and look for a prompt to confirm unmuting on your screen.
All right, so good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Bauer. I'm the director of the Madison Avenue Business Improvement District, and just wanted to update on you on some of the new store openings since our last meeting in October. Just this week, APC is a contemporary fashion brand, opened up at 1157 Madison Avenue, which was between 85th and 86th Street. Fusop opened up at 625 Madison. That's a ski wear brand. Also this week, Zadig and Voltaire, which has been on Madison for quite a while, has opened up their brand new U.S. flagship at 845 Madison Avenue, and that's it between 70th Street. So, which is just great to see that new investment. And I just got a call today that Sid Mashburn is going to be opening up a permanent store. They've been here as pop-ups in previous years, and now they are now opening up a permanent store. So you can see pop up to permanent, which is great. They're going to be opening up at 74th Street and Madison on the southwest corner within a week or so. So we have some new retail. Once again, support them if you can. And just want to give you a quick tease that we're going to be having our 36th annual Miracle on Madison holiday event on Saturday, December 3rd. We have 70 businesses donating 20% of their sales that day to the pediatric programs of the Society of Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. So please take a look at our website to find out all the details of what's happening that day. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Alita Camp.
Hi, thank you, and please forgive my camera off. All I wanted to say was that at the end of October, a jogger was in Central Park and in critical condition. Not been able to find any information. She was not identified. I would like us all to be as sad for her as we are for anyone else who is injured in the park or elsewhere around New York. And that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Next is Evelyn David. Do we have Evelyn? Will, you're muted.
sorry about that. Evelyn, if you're here, please raise your virtual hand.
And after Evelyn, it's going to be Roberta Hurtado Armas.
Evelyn David, are you here? I do not see her. Who is the
Roberta
next?
Hurtado Armas. Roberta Hurtado Armas.
Roberta, if you are here, please raise your virtual hand. I'm not seeing Roberta either.
Nicole Angelico.
If you are here, Nicole, or either of the two people who've been called on prior, go to the reactions icon on your screen, press the raise hand button so we can find you, because we are not finding you in our participants list. Oh, knockout. Are you Nicole?
Yes, hi.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Angelico. I'm speaking on behalf of Knockout Beauty, a retail store and skin consultancy located at 1360 Madison Avenue and 93rd for approval of our existing retail sign. Our current sign is 55 inches in height, 13 inches wide, and 3 inches deep, with a black ground and white font, which is at 4 inches. We thoughtfully designed the sign with a black ground to ensure it was not too much of a contrast against the beautiful ivy building or the brick when the ivy is not in bloom. Our landlord has confirmed that they will be fully responsible for taking down the sign if and when we are no longer a tenant. Therefore, the next tenant will not be grandfathered in. In my discussion with the LPC this summer, they were so kind to meet with me. I did get the impression that they are in favor of our current retail sign and recognize that our building is a unique townhouse covered with ivy and hedges in the front. As such, it will not set a precedent for the Carnegie Hill Historic District. And last, our sign 100% does not obstruct landmark property and is installed in the hedges in the garden in the front. And it sits 3 feet, 3 inches away from the building on both the east and west side of the sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Julianne Britannia.
Julianne, if you're here, please go ahead and raise your virtual hand. I haven't seen her yet, but I did see Evelyn David pop in. If you want to go back to her.
Sure.
Evelyn, unmute.
Hi, good evening. I'll make this quick. So this is about, I brought up something with the DOT and snow plowing on Park Avenue and the idea of a snow, adding a snow blower onto one of the mechanisms. The DOT said, oh, because, even if they change the way the plow goes, it would cut off a lane. Well, it cuts off a lane anyway because of the way the snow piles up on the car. So anyway, she kind of stopped, but the nice DOT person stopped and considered that for 2 seconds. And one of your members said, oh, you mean the snow blowing onto the median? And then the issue of money was raised. So the reason I'm actually talking right now is because Liz Kruger put out a bulletin. She's got money. She's got, what is this called, this kind of money? Oh, I wrote it down. Pardon me?
Member item?
No, it's not a member item. It's money that you can get from her office as God. I'm sorry. When you're here, wait a minute. A grant money. She's got grant money. And maybe member money. I don't know the extent to how community boards get money, but I don't think it would be a fortune if we got grant money to just change one plow's direction, just one plow, just one. We go up Park Avenue and come back down again, up to 96 and turn around and come back. And put the snow on the median. There is grant money out there. That's what, right after that last meeting, when the DOT person started bringing up money and somebody on your board said, well, let's discuss this. Somebody made that comment. I thought, okay, then I saw this grant thing. So do you think we could get grant money from her?
Thank you. Next, we will go to Lo Vandervalk.
Hello, you're up next. And a reminder, only raise your hand whenever your name has been called by the chair.
Yeah,
Hello.
my name is Lo Vandervalk. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. I'm representing Carnegie Hill Neighbors. I'm speaking to the application, landmarks application for 33 East 93rd Street. This is a brownstone that has a beauty item store at the lower level, but it's a very difficult situation in that this is truly a residential brownstone. It's been very difficult for the applicant to fit a commercial property in the ground floor. And it's a beautiful building covered with ivy, and the issue is signage. And they came up with a solution, and I hope that the other speaker on this tonight will show you a picture of it. But the signage is very modest, but it's not the typical landmark signage. And it is a black background with lettering that is no more than 4 inches tall, but it's in the front hedge area way where there's a hedge that surrounds the corner of the building. And this is quite understated and very elegant, and it's now being legalized, so it's up at the current moment. And our executive committee had a chance to see it, and we discussed it in the spring, and we discussed that we would support this when it came up. And it is also very understated, and it does not call attention to itself. So whatever happens with the decision, I just wanted to import this, and there are only a few such corners, and this is a special one. So I hope that the community board will support it. It has the support of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Pamela Lipkin, please.
See a person named Pamela. Pamela, if that's you, please unmute. Or if it's not.
If it's okay with the committee, would it be possible if Suzanne Levine could speak before me, because she's been suffering silently for the last 4 sessions, and she has a 7:15 appointment. I could go later.
Sure, yes, go ahead. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So next is Suzanne.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Suzanne. You can unmute.
Practicing podiatrist, podiatric surgeon at 885 Park Avenue. I've been here for over 35 years. I do have a certified OR, and I think my concern is that many of my patients have difficulty ambulating down the block, particularly with the cold weather and the street being closed off. Most Ubers and car services cannot get through, and that's had an impact on my practice. So I'm wondering if anything can be, done with regard to this challenge. I do adore some of the students and treat many of them from Allen Stevenson, and I understand that they need a need for outside activities, but it's definitely impacting my practice as it is a certified OR.
Thank you. Pamela, you can go ahead now if you like.
Much has been said over the past several months, so I won't repeat everything that we've already said, but I do have a few comments that have come up in the past week about patients getting picked up and dropped off. It's become it came to my attention that the Uber app will no longer recognize any of the townhouses on East 78th Street. If you ask for an Uber or a Lyft, they won't come here. They just say near 111 East 78th Street because the DOT has basically blocked the street off. So that would be the first step of many phone calls, negotiations to try to get any kind of car service to pick up a patient and drop them off. Obviously, getting picked up is far more difficult. And also these regarding the Alan Stevenson rooftop facility, they've been in construction for almost 6-7 years already. I was wondering if we could put some time frame on when this rooftop facility, how long they have to finish it, because it's been a very, very long time. Last week, I saw a large van that was parked on the street. There were children playing in front of the school. This large van literally backed out of 78th Street onto Park Avenue and nearly hit a truck. I mean, the representations that people are being allowed to come through the street, patients have no problems, deliveries, it's not true. The sign on Park Avenue is so small and the barricades are so obvious that it's a deterrent for anybody to really use the street. And you have to get up pretty close to that sign to see that. Sorry, I ran out of time.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Chris Serbo.
All right, Chris.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to share my screen.
Yep, I just understand you do only have 2 minutes, but go ahead.
And I'll let you know when your 2 minutes is up.
Let's see here. I'm having difficulty sharing.
You should have the ability to share your screen. Hit the green button. And then find what you want to put up.
I did hit that, yes. Let's see, share. Oh, hold on a sec. Okay. How's that?
Nope.
Okay,
No.
Are we good?
No, we don't see it. Yes, now we see it.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Serbo. I am the Director of Security at the Alan Stevenson School. First of all, I want to thank Community Board 8 and the Block Association, 78th Street Block Association, for allowing Alan Stevenson to address the concerns associated with the 78th Street Open Street program. We met with the 78th Street Block Association as well as DOT to address the resident and patient accessibility, Play Street modification, as well as noise reduction. The first thing we did was we provided residents and patients who have appointments on the block with doctors on 78th Street with vehicle access passes. These are not permits. They're not associated with DOT. These are passes that we issue to residents of the block just to expedite the process so they can quickly access the street without having any conversation with the guard at the corner. Just show them the pass and they get access to the street. If you see this overhead, we reduced our Play Street space to 1/3. If you see the blue dashes, that is the west side building, west side line of the school. And our play space is now from the west line to the corner of 78th and Lex, and that lessens the impact to our neighbors, including some of the doctor's offices. With the Play Street in front of the schoolhouse, the children are playing in front of the school, and that lessens the impact on the doctor's offices. Not only did we reduce the play space area, but we also reduced the amount of students using the play space at one given time. Bike lane has always been a problem. It's always been a concern. Everyone is on board, faculty, staff, students, as you can see from this video. And lastly, and most importantly, positive benefits. It's an opportunity for the students to get out in the fresh air, even if it's for a short period of time, and it has a lasting impact of the rest of the day in their classroom. So thank you, Community Board 8. Thank you, DOT. for the Open Street program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Karen Lessing.
Karen, just go ahead and raise your hand so I can find you. Karen, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi,
There you go.
I work with Dr. Pam Lipkin and see patients at her practice. The impact that it's had on our practice has been somewhat devastating. We have patients, and it's great that they have passes to come down the street, but many of our patients are picked up and dropped off by Uber that don't have passes to come down the street. And when they call for an Uber, they're unable to be picked up at the practice. They have to be picked up on a corner. Yes, the amount of noise has decreased, but it is still a problem. But the biggest impact really to the patients is they cannot be picked up in front. And it's having an impact on the financials of the practice as well because of that.
Isn't the answer? It's not their street to give a pass.
And to me, what it says also is that Alan Stevenson does not own the street for them to give passes to. I'm in favor of the open streets. I think it's a great idea, but for the right place. Again, why are they getting more rights than all the practices on the street? And I mean, that's the point that I wanted to bring up.
Thank you.
I hope it was helpful.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next is Jacques Blinbaum.
Jacques, I see a different Blinbaum. Maybe they're just in by a different name.
Hi, I'm sorry. It's Lauren. I'm Jacques' wife. I'm Lauren Cassell. I don't know that Jacques is at an event, and I actually ditched the other event because it was very important for me to be here. We have gone over this multiple meetings for several months. I'm a physician on the block, and it has also impacted us tremendously. First of all, I would like to thank the community board, and I also would like to thank Alan Stevenson for all the accommodations they have made by trying to allow access and moving the students down the street. Of course, it has made it a little bit quieter, but it still does not solve the problem of access, mostly with the cars and Ubers. And as I said, it's very hard for them to see. We try and tell them in advance that if they tell the guard that they're coming to a doctor's office, they will let them through. And if they either remember or can get close enough, because there's really no way, it's not a 360-degree sign. And the hardest part is for patients leaving because Ubers have said canceled because they say we can't come down the block, and they're not going to stop and ask, how do you hail a cab? I have many of my patients are Medicare patients with walkers, canes. If they're with an aide, the aide has had to go to the corner to try and get a taxi, to allow the taxi to come through. It is tremendously, tremendously inconvenient. And as I said, you know, I've been here for many years. They will have a rooftop. They can use their outdoor space. I appreciate they need outdoor space, but please, when the outdoor space is available, let them use our rooftop and give us back our street.
Thank you. Next is Ann Nam. And one thing I forgot to mention at the start, but we just ask folks to do it going forward. If you could just please, before making your remarks, just let us know where you live, your neighborhood, essentially, so we know if you live in the community district.
Go ahead, Ann.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, 78th Street, pardon me, I live at 875 Park, which is on the corner of 78th Street and Park Avenue. our service entrance is also on 78th Street, so we are very much affected by the open street program. As you may know, 78th Street has had a bike lane for years. It's not accessible with Alan Stevenson using the open street program. The children spill out over the entire street, throwing balls and paper airplanes and making bikers and pedestrians very vulnerable. Bikers have subsequently been riding on the sidewalks because the bike lane is not available. A student, a biker, a pedestrian is going to get hurt. This is a very dangerous situation. I understand Alan Stevenson has a rooftop garden ready to be certified soon, and I would appreciate if they would use that at their earliest convenience. May I share a screen to show you a picture of what the street looks like?
Quickly.
Okay. Is it? Have I been given screen sharing?
Let's go. I'll let you know you have 30 seconds left.
Did you get a chance to see
Yes.
that?
No, we didn't see it.
I don't see
Oh.
it. It's at the bottom center. It's the button at the bottom center.
Share screen?
Yeah.
Got it. Thank
have
you.
10 seconds. 5.
Yes?
No, we don't see it.
All right, well,
That's your 2 minutes.
I'll have to re-examine the preferences perhaps, but I think you get the idea that the open streets are not available to bikers.
Thank you. Let's go next to Boaz Galil, and I think we'll just leave it there in terms of sharing screen and stuff. I think we'll just stick to remarks from here on out.
Oh, that's go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make it quick. I want to talk about the open street East 78. I'm basically in full support of the resolution of the transportation committee that basically says that that the street will stay in the open street program until the end of the year, and in the beginning of the year, in January 2023, when the rooftop of the school will be open, the street will be out of the program. I think it makes sense. Everyone agreed in the committee, the public, and I don't know why why it's still open for the debate. I think that the rooftop is supposed to be. They are working on the rooftop for the last 7 years. It's supposed to be finished by beginning of the year, and that's it. We can remove the street from the open street because it's impacting a lot of doctors and medical crew that use the street. Thank you.
And just remind us where you live.
92nd Street and 2nd Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we will go to, there's somebody who signed up with the name Karen to speak about open streets.
I see a Karen Lessing. Karen, if that's you who signed up, go ahead and unmute, and you'll have 2 minutes.
No, we already called on Karen Lessing.
already
Okay, I
spoke.
didn't realize it was the same Karen.
There's a different Karen.
Who's the other?
There's no other Karen here.
Got it. Okay, sorry, the timer was still running. Okay, let's go next to Brian Verona.
Brian, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Russell and Community Board 8. I'm Brian Verona. I live on 78th Street, directly adjacent to the school. I'm in support of the resolution that the school use the street until such time as the roof is ready, hopefully sooner. I appreciate the changes that the school has made. I had the opportunity to meet both with Jock Blimbaum, the school and the DOT. And I agree they've made substantial changes, but it doesn't change the fact of the danger imposed by the existence of the bike lane, the double parking on Park Avenue in front of 875 Park, which is directly a result of closing the street for a substantial amount of time. I'll remind you, it's from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day. We never bargained for this. I don't want to rehash a lot of the points made already. But again, I think the resolution is a reasonable compromise that the school give back the street to the neighborhood as egress through the Upper East Side. So people, and particularly the doctor's offices and their patients, can get in and out of their office without having to ask permission, without having the cumbersome reality of trying to distribute passes. So this is an important resolution. We really appreciate you guys spending this much time on it. And we look forward to Open Streets ending as soon as possible. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's go next to Odette Wilkins.
Hello, I'm Odette Wilkins. I'm President and General Counsel of Wired Broadband, based in Forest Hills, New York. I am speaking on behalf of Jill McManus, who resides in the district for Community Board 8 on East 81st Street, but could not be on Zoom or on the call tonight, and has asked me to speak on her behalf. Jumbo 5G monopoles are recently being installed on the Upper East Side. Residents in these locations are outraged that they did not know about these installations and that they were not consulted in the process. These monopoles are right outside of their windows and outside of a baby's bedroom and outside of a resident with a heart pacemaker. These are freestanding monopoles in the middle of residential streets, sticking out 3 stories high like a sore thumb. These Jumbo 5G monopoles were approved by the Office of Technology and Innovation and the Public Design Commission, initially 2,000 of them. There will be 10.6 feet set back from a building. That means they're going to be beaming straight into our homes, businesses, and schools. Now, there are thousands of scientific peer-reviewed studies concluding biological harms from wireless radiation, and indeed, people have been seriously injured already in New York City. No one in New York City received appropriate notice, and the only public hearings were for aesthetics, not for health impacts. Therefore, there's been no public oversight or transparency regarding these installations. When these 5G antennas were approved by the city council failed to preserve the rights reserved to us under the Telecommunications Act of 1996, that the only time telecom can come in to install these wireless antennas is when they have met their burden of proof of 1, significant gap in cell phone service, and 2, using the least intrusive means to fill that gap. Right now, they have not met any of these burdens of proof, and the city has not preserved our rights, and we need to take those rights back. Many in government say that we're preempted by the FCC to install these 5G towers. That is not correct. A senior federal judge in Eastern District disagreed. Thank you.
Let's go to Andrew Fine next, please.
Andrew, you can unmute. Go ahead.
Thank you. And the timing could not be better on that last comment, because my comment is part editorial. There was a transportation committee meeting a few weeks ago where I had a conflict, and I asked several board members who are willing to read my comments on the car share program. The previous commenter was commenting for somebody else, and that was something that I was denied in the transportation committee. I undertook to not only write up a written statement that several board members were willing to read into the record live and on your call, but I also recorded a YouTube video. I'm sorry I had a conflict, but I think that community input is important. This is called a community board. The irony of it all is that at the end of the day, sadly, the DOT on the car share program had already made up their mind. They were telling us what they're going to do. The community input was a complete afterthought. And unfortunately, we're seeing this on a regular basis, whether it's on the blood center where we spoke, they were blue in the face. I'm sorry. Sorry, I thought somebody was trying to interject. whether it was the blood center, the dining sheds, or congestion pricing. We talk, but we're not being heard. I really wonder, especially on the car share and the DOT, what are we really doing here? Why are we spending 3 or 4 hours in a night to make comments, to sit around and try to make a comment? And we're not heard at all. We're actually an afterthought. I really think that the community board has to muscle up somehow and assert itself, because we're not being heard. The people are not being heard. And whether it's congestion pricing or dining sheds or car share program, they're shutting us out. They're doing what they want to do. It's time for the community to be heard. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you. Next is Sandra Lerner.
Good evening. Mine is on the car share. I have several points I want to make. Who will be responsible for cleaning the cars when they are returned to their parking spots? Who will take care of any scratches or dents or make note of them? Who will clean the cars for the next renter? Who will move the cars to alternate side parking so streets can be clean? Cars are taking corner spots, as we were told. Corners are where garbage cans are located, and corners are where the rats feast off the garbage cans. There will be garbage under these cars. It'll be a bigger feast for the rats. Are you aware that the trucks are going to be Toyota Tacoma pickup trucks? It's on page 12 of the DOT document that you received. Truck parking on 82nd Street on the southwest corner is a eastbound street, and there will be right-hand turns onto 2nd Avenue. There will be danger for pedestrians that are going to be crossing at that corner. The other location is on 90th Street, the same situation. A 2-hour rental for a Nissan Sentra was $17.50. Booking fee, which I don't know why, was $2.19. Tax was $2.14. A license fee was $16. What is a license fee? The total for the 2 hours came to almost $38, double the quoted fee. On top of that, there is a $250 security deposit required, refunded 7 days after the trip, minus any unpaid amounts. The DOT parking fee of $475 per year for 2 vehicles is outrageous. Get Around is valued at $1.7 billion with operations in 950 cities around the world. Why wasn't there a CB8 meeting prior to the deal being signed by DOT for us to voice our opinions? I am asking that CB8 Transportation Committee request another meeting with the DOT and these 2 car sharing companies and let the public have a voice on this issue. Thank you. I live on 79th Street between 1st and York Avenues.
Thank you. Next is Sandy Marks.
Sorry, if you could repeat that name.
Sandy Marks.
Sandy Marks, if you are here, please use the reactions icon to find the raise hand button or chat me, because I do not see you in our participants list.
And then after that, it will be Maggie Lehman.
Maggie, go ahead and unmute. Maggie, it's *9 to unmute. Sorry, it's *6 to unmute. *9 raises your hand, but you haven't pushed that either, so she may not be at her phone.
Okay. Last call for Roberta Hurtado Armas, Julianne Bertagna, and then the folks that we just mentioned, Sandy Marks and Maggie Lehman.
Maggie's the only one I see in the participants list. Maggie, you can unmute. It's *6. Otherwise, we're going to move on. There she goes.
All right,
This is Maggie Lehman, but I don't think you were ready for me yet. But my recording blocked out your voice, so I didn't want to jump the line. Am I up
Go
or
for
am I
it.
to wait?
Yes, you're up. You're up. And just tell us where you live.
Thanks. I do want to also address the car share program because of what I felt was being the blindsiding of the Department of Transportation at the meeting 2 weeks ago that Michelle Birnbaum, among others, so eloquently and powerfully addressed. And I agree with the prior speaker, Sandra Lerner, that I'd like CB8 to bring DOT and the company to come back. I'd like to address the issue of safety, the issue of the outsized burden on New York City residents, as well as what I see as really the inequitable fee being charged. The safety, particularly concerning the trucks, and I understand that I remember I was at the meeting, trucks were excluded from the terrific resolution that CB8 wrote. That said, the trucks being parked at corners and trucks being parked on the street, by the way, does New York City routinely and ordinarily permit trucks, which are commercial vehicles, to park all day on the street as opposed to being connected with a specific store? We've seen studies flooding the news in the last month of the blind side that the blind spot trucks have, that they don't see pedestrians, particularly smaller pedestrians, 5 feet in front of them. I'd like to address the safety part of the corner spots, which directly contradicts the city initiative of removing any vehicles, cars or trucks, from parking at corners because there's such an overwhelming number of pedestrian accidents that occur with turning.
Your time is up. Just let us know where you live.
79th and 1st.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the public session. So we will now move to adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to do that, which you can do with a thumbs up? Yes, I see Rebecca. Is there a second? Yes, I see it. Anyone opposed? No? All right, thank you. Adoption of the prior meeting's minutes. Yep, I see a bunch of thumbs up, so that's great. Anyone opposed to that? Great, thank you. All right, let's go now to the Borough President's report. So I don't think he's here. Mina, is the Borough President going to be here later?
Yes,
do you want to
he
do the
should.
report
No, he should be here later.
Okay. All right, so then we will go to the elected official reports. So as usual, yep, raise your hand if you're here to give an elected official report, and we will call on you and give you your 2 minutes. And we will start with Audrey Tandem from Liz Kruger's office.
Hi, everyone. A few things. One, Ms. David, thank you so much for bringing up the grants for neighborhoods, but it's actually Liz did an event with the Citizens Committee of New York City. So there are wonderful neighborhood grants available, but it is through the Citizens Committee of New York City. So I urge you to go to their website, or you can contact us and we'll give you the details. As you might expect, Liz is getting ready for the session that is going to begin in January. She will once again be the finance chair, and she is already in terms of a community issue that we know is really critical for the city. She has already introduced bills to address the rapid increase of fires caused by lithium-ion batteries, which we know are used to charge e-bikes and e-cycles. So she has introduced 2 pieces of legislation. One would insist that any lithium-ion battery, if it's being sold, has to be tested by a nationally recognized laboratory. And the second piece of legislation would be to prohibit the sale of the reconditioned or second-use lithium-ion batteries, which of course we know are the cause of all too many of these horrible apartment fires, which we know are in the increase. So those are already submitted, and Liz hopes and expects they'll become state law sooner rather than later, and we, of course, will keep you posted. Another event that we're having on December 6th, Liz is co-sponsoring with the Borough President Levine, a session on Local Law 97. That's the city law to help buildings get up to the requirements for sustainability. Anyone who's a shareholder, a condo owner, a member of the board, a property manager would be really advised to come to this session. I'll share the details with Will. It's on December 6th, virtual, and good and happy, safe, peaceful Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Cameron Kaufman from Julie Menon's office.
Thanks, Russell. My name is Cameron Kaufman. I'm the Director of Constituent Services for Councilmember Julie Menon. Some updates from our office. Legislatively, since last month, Councilmember Menon has had 2 signature pieces of legislation signed into law by Mayor Adams. The mayor signed Councilmember Menon's package of childcare bills, which puts New York City on the path towards being the first city in the country with universal childcare. It's a big win for working families in the city. And he also signed her one-stop shop small business bill that she spoke to the community board about a couple times. And this is going to have a significant effect in easing burdens and red tape that face small businesses. The council member joined the 19th Precinct Community Council a couple weeks ago to announce some additional foot patrols. This is something our office had heard a lot of requests from constituents about. So there's going to be new foot patrols and a new group of foot patrol officers around the 86th Street corridor and surrounding avenues. And this is something she's really been advocating for the past few months and working with the precinct on. I want to pivot to a couple constituent service issues. First, the 5G installation on East 90th Street between York and East End. We've heard from many constituents about. The council members continuing to advocate to the Mayor's Office of Technology and Innovation, and they have agreed to ensure there is third-party testing. We've been working with Assembly Member Seawright and the Borough President on this. Although it's important to note that the federal regulations do limit somewhat what the city can stipulate regarding the siting of these. And the second is the Extel construction site on 79th and 1st Avenue, the medical tower with HSS. We've heard from a number of constituents with some noise issues, and we've had the DEP come and inspect many times. We've also heard some issues with possible Saturday work without a permit, so we've been encouraging DOB to inspect as well. Keep filing 311 complaints, send them to our office, please, and we will continue to push those agencies to investigate. That's it for now. Thank you and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Next, Eric Straza from Alvin Bragg's office.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. I'm a community coordinator at Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office. I'm not typically assigned to this area. We currently have a vacancy open for Upper East and West Side. So if you know of anyone, please refer them to our office. Just have 2 quick announcements really quickly to come from the DA's office. First, as many of you probably know, New York City is currently and has been in a housing crisis, and this makes tenants particularly vulnerable. So the District Attorney Bragg recently announced the creation of our new Housing and Tenant Protection Unit. So the name gives you a pretty good idea of what it will be tasked to do, but its areas of focus include things like the harassment of rent-related tenants by landlords and developers, deed fraud, investigating other conduct against tenants by landlords or developers, as well as the defrauding of government subsidy programs. This will be the first time that our office has a specific unit and attorneys dedicated for housing matters. So we're really happy about that. And the unit also has a hotline. So if any tenants that you know of have been the victim of any of the conduct I mentioned before, please feel free to tell them to reach out. Another thing I wanted to mention is it involves something that we're doing to address the issue of gun violence in the borough of Manhattan. We'll actually be conducting a gun buyback in the Lower East Side on December 3rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Gethsemane Garden Baptist Church, located on 223 East 7th Street. We actually conducted one in Harlem over the summer and recovered over 70 firearms, which we were really happy about. We estimate that throughout the would-be lifetime of each firearm, each one recovered is equal to saving 3 lives. So again, that's great. Then 2 things that I wanted to make everyone aware of. We recently announced or released 2 reports on 2 different issues, one on hate crimes and another on gun violence throughout the borough, specifically including information about what we're seeing, what it looks like in Manhattan, and then also some steps we're doing to address them. So if you want any other information on those, or would like copies of those reports to hand out, please be in touch with our office and we can provide those. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next is Terrell Brock from Jose Serrano's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Terrell Brock, and I'm a community liaison from State Senator Jose Serrano's office. On October 17th, the senator was happy to join the Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, along with local artists and community members for Community Board 8's Fall Art Show. Many thanks to Community Board 8 for organizing this wonderful event. On October 23rd, the senator was happy to join Assemblymember Rebecca Seawright at the Carl Schultz Park Conservancy's dog Halloween contest and Healthy Hound Fair. This fun event was a great opportunity for community residents to come together and for their dogs to show up their amazing costumes. Many thanks to Mr. Patrick McCluskey, Executive Director of the Conservancy, as well as the volunteers who helped make this event a success. And also, President Biden and the U.S. Department of Education announced a 3-part plan to lessen the burden of the student debt crisis to help individuals and their families manage federal student loan payments. Undergraduate Pell Grant recipients will be eligible to receive up to $20,000 in debt cancellation who fall under the income thresholds of $125,000 for individuals or $250,000 for married couples and heads of households. Borrowers who did not receive Pell Grants who meet the income eligibility requirements and will be able to receive up to $10,000 in debt cancellation. The federal student loan repayment will be extended one last time to December 31st, 2022. Applications will not be accepted after that date, and the same day the pause and loan repayment ends. And as always, if you ever need any assistance from our office or the PPE or anything, please feel free to reach out to us at 212-828-5829 or at serrano@nysenate.gov. Stay happy, safe, and well, and have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Jesse Kay from Keith Powers' office.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're enjoying yourselves this evening. I just have a few announcements from our office. I just wanted to let you all know that tomorrow, Councilmember Powers is co-hosting an event on Medicare enrollment. With fall enrollment happening now through December 7th, the council members is partnering with Medicare Rights Center to host an informational session, and that event will be tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. Last week, Councilmember Powers and the Borough President's Office recommended that the Department of Transportation implement a Rockefeller Center pedestrianization mitigation plan, which will include the pedestrianization of 49th and 50th Streets between 5th and 6th Aves during the upcoming holiday season. We also want to ensure this pedestrianization is comfortable and manageable for all. So we called on the Department of Transportation and all of the relevant agencies to create effective programs to manage crowds. And that includes dealing with bus route diversions, vendor regulations, and even public bathroom use. And lastly, as we've been talking about the past couple of months, the City Council was able to pass an essential package of legislation tackling rat and rodent infestation across New York City. And that happened this month, finally. And as we discussed, this would require large building owners to use and maintain rodent-proof trash bins. It would mandate developers to present rodent mitigation plans with their blueprints prior to construction. It would create a new system of violations for those not using proper waste containers, establish a rat mitigation zone or rat mitigation zones, and it would require reporting on progress made in eradicating vermin in these rat mitigation zones. And that's everything we have from us. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just note that Community Board 8 wishes Keith Powers a very happy birthday. So happy birthday, Councilmember Powers. Next, let's go to Courtney Pharisee from Rebecca Seawright's office.
Hi, thank you, Chair Squire, District Manager Will Brightbill, and board members. Assemblymember Seawright was proud to host our 4th annual Tribute to Women in Service Awards in Central Park last week to honor and the dedicated service of women veterans. Mayor Adams attended and presented a proclamation to declare the day November 9th, 2022 as Women in Service Day in the City of New York. On Election Day, voters overwhelmingly approved the statewide Environmental Bond Act, and there are many more environmental initiatives coming to passage on the state level to address climate change and to protect our natural resources. Assemblymember Seawright joined Eleanor Roosevelt High School for their annual cultural potluck, where she announced a $250,000 award for capital improvements to the high school. With regard to the 5G tower at 90th Street, our office is leading a sign-on letter with other elected officials to both the contractor and the Office of Technology, because they, by their own admission, put up that tower less than 10 feet from the residential building. So we will keep you updated on their response to this issue. This Friday, we're hosting a Drug Mart COVID booster clinic for our neighbors. So please call our office, make an appointment, and please, as always, consider us a resource. Thank you, and have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Marissa Maverick from Carolyn Maloney's office.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be joining you all again tonight. I'll be brief in my update. Congresswoman Maloney continues to hold a number of hearings as chair of the Oversight Committee as we near the end of the current Congress. These have included examinations of the Postal Service preparedness for the holiday season, data analysis on the Inflation Reduction Act's impact on prescription drug pricing, and investigations into foreign business transactions. The Congresswoman also continues to introduce legislation, most recently introducing the Abortion Care Awareness Act of 2022 as a response to the attack on women's reproductive rights. This bill directs the Secretary of Health and Human Services to carry out a coordinated national public health education, awareness, and outreach campaign to provide information regarding where and how people can access abortion and related health services, the right to travel across state lines to access abortion care, how to identify misinformation about abortion, and more. Again, finally, as many of you know, Congresswoman Maloney will no longer be representing the 12th Congressional District in the new year. Our office is continuing our transition operations to ensure that constituents' concerns are addressed. While we will be unable to assist with services in the new year, you may contact our office between now and December 22nd for any questions, community issues, or urgent concerns. You may reach me, Marissa Maverick, at our district office phone number, which is 212-860-0606, and our office email address is urgentny12@mail.house.gov, both of which I will drop in the chat. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, last call for elected official reports. Otherwise, we will move to the chair's report. So I don't see other hands, so I will be just very brief tonight and use my report to just remind folks, as ever, board members, please be civil and respectful to one another in your remarks, and please do try to be concise in your remarks and non-repetitive as we're going through. And with that, I will turn it over to Will.
Just want to note that we had a representative from the Comptroller's office, and I put their report in the chat for everyone. I'll be brief as well. I'm sure the BP will mention this whenever he comes. There are trainings that are being offered by the Manhattan Borough President's Office for board members and the public on a wide range of issues. The Borough President's Office is aware that many of these trainings overlapped Community Board 8 meetings this month, and they have informed me that they plan to host future trainings that all the board members will have access to between now and when reappointments happen. So be on the lookout for those emails. I want to flag in our e-blast, one of our local organizations, Muslim Volunteers for New York, is doing a Thanksgiving food drive. So wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, but you can go to our e-blast and see information about that food drive. And if there's any other food drives that people want us to share, please let us know, and we'll help put those things out in advance of the holiday season. Then I also want to recognize one of our board members, Judy Schneider, who was recognized by Patch as a resident neighbor who has made a great contribution to the city. And with that, I'll hand it back over to you, Russell, and wish everybody a great Thanksgiving. Russell, are you frozen? Russell appears to be frozen for me. Can people nod their heads if they see that is up? Okay, all right. I will filibuster for a moment while we hope to get our board chair back. You can go to the chat and read some of the reports from our local elected officials and find out how to contact them. And this is awkward. I will get Russell back as soon as possible. Tomorrow is the annual meeting of the East Midtown Partnership at 8 a.m. If anybody wants to go to that, they can go to that. You can find information about that on the East Midtown Partnership's website. That's news. Trying to filibuster here. Oh, Russell's coming back. And Russell is back. Russell, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, sorry about that.
Did you turn off the phone or the other device? Technology, everybody. Isn't this great?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Sound. Sorry, so let me turn it over to Chuck. Did we do that from the Elections Committee?
I have not. I didn't know if we were ready to do that. So Chuck, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is our first election under the new procedures with our bylaws amendments. And I want to again thank the members of the Elections Committee, Michelle Birnbaum, Anthony Cohn, Ed Hartzog, and Barbara Rutter for all their good work and cooperation. We had a great committee and things went very smoothly. Just to talk about the procedure a little bit, we're going to first have speeches by the candidates as the bylaws amendments requires. And then after each office and the candidates speak, we'll have a vote. And I talked with Will, and we're going to try to unmute everyone so that the voting might be a lot quicker as we call the roll. So try to pay attention when that happens, and hopefully that'll happen. We'll see. I think it can happen. Will's a little skeptical, so we'll see. So our first race is our first office, rather, is the chair, and we have one candidate, and that's Russell Squire. And Russell, you can make any remarks you want up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. It has been a tremendous privilege to serve as the chair of CB8 for the past 2 years, and I'm asking one more time for your vote to allow me to continue to serve our community in this role. The most important job of the chair is to represent and lead the board fairly and without bias. I'm very proud of my record running the meetings in an impartial manner, allowing the board to make its own decisions without undue influence of the chair, and advancing the positions taken by the board even when I may not agree with them personally. I've done a good job handling our committees, allowing them to do their work without too much interference while providing support and assistance where needed. I may suggest topics for meetings, but I've trusted committee chairs to run their committees and haven't dictated their agendas. And in the rare instances where there are problems, I've stepped in to mediate and address them. I've worked very hard to make the full board meeting shorter, and during my tenure, things have improved, even though we do still have long meetings at times, and I know there is more progress to be made. I've tried to strike a balance between providing board members and the public with the opportunity to express their views with the practical need to keep things moving. It's not an easy balance to strike, but I think I've done a good job on the whole, and I'm going to continue to try and make the meeting shorter without unduly limiting discussion. I'm very proud of my record appointing committee leaders, including appointing numerous women and diverse board members to leadership positions. We need a board that takes full advantage of the talents and experiences of all our members and that reflects the diversity of our community. I've also given new and younger members opportunities to lead. This is beneficial to the board, not only because of the contributions that these members have already made, but also for the long-term future of the board. It's important to give newer members leadership opportunities now so that they'll be able to guide the board forward when term limits start to kick in and longtime members are forced to roll off. Finally, I've continued to show my dedication and commitment to this board and the community district we represent through the time I've put into this role. I've spent long hours leading meetings, as well as working behind the scenes to help committees and with meetings and events. representing the board at outside hearings and events, and on many board administrative tasks. I pledge to continue to put the time in to do this job to the best of my ability. Looking ahead, we're likely to have some major land use items coming to us in the coming year. Although the blood center fight did not turn out the way we wanted, I am proud of how we handled it as a board, from the well-organized hearings we conducted, to the persuasive and substantive resolution we produced, to the powerful advocacy we engaged in at so many hearings, meetings, and rallies. I think we've learned a number of important lessons from that process. I want us to continue to be a forum that will give applicants a fair hearing, consider issues thoughtfully, come to the right conclusions, and fight to see them implemented. After 2 years, I've demonstrated that I am the right person to lead the board in the coming year, and I would be honored to have your vote.
Thank you, Russell. Now we're going to have the secretary call the roll, and I'd like to ask Rami to do that, Rami Siegel, since he's not running for anything at this point. And when Rami calls your name, hopefully everyone should be unmuted or in the process of being unmuted. You should indicate whether you're for or against Russell Squire for chair.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. If you're voting, so this is a different vote. So if you're voting for Russell, indicate you're voting for Russell. You have to say who you're voting for. It's not like our typical votes. So I'm going to call the roll. Mohit.
Russell.
Bill.
Russell.
Elizabeth Ashby. Elizabeth Ashby.
Why don't we pass?
Russell.
Oh, okay.
Russell. Got it. Gail Barron.
Russell Squire.
Michelle Birnbaum.
Yes, for Russell Squire.
Lori. Lori Boris.
Russell Squire.
Taina Barrera.
Russell Squire.
Miss Brown.
Chair Squire.
Anthony.
Russell Squire.
Sondrea.
Russell.
Lindsay.
Russell Squire.
Rebecca Dangor.
Russell Squire.
I'm here.
Elise.
I'm here.
Oh. Who is?
Can you hear me?
Is that Alita? Yes.
That's Alita.
Alita.
Squire.
Yes, right side. Thank you.
Did you hear me?
Yes, I got you.
Thanks, Rami. Thank you.
Felice.
Felice, you can unmute.
Felice.
Can we pass?
Pass on Felice. Billy Freeland.
Russell Squire.
Ed Hartzog.
Squire.
David.
Squire.
Sahar. Sahar.
I'm for Russell.
Wilma. Wilma.
I'm gonna look for a button on your screen to unmute.
Let's pass on Rami till we get
Paul.
Yes, for Russell Squire.
Craig.
Russell Squire.
Rebecca Lamort. Rebecca Lamort.
Not voting for cause. Sorry, I missed this part of the conversation.
Okay. Addison.
Russell Squire.
Valerie.
Russell Squire.
John McClement.
Russell Squire.
Evan. Evan. Can you repeat that?
He hasn't unmuted yet.
I'll pass on Evan. Gregory,
Squire.
Jane, Jane,
So.
thank you. John Phillips,
Yes, for Russell Squire.
Sharon,
Yes, for Russell Squire.
Rita,
Yes, for Russell Squire.
Peggy,
Russell Squire.
Elizabeth Rose,
Russell Squire.
Barbara Rutter,
Russell Squire.
Abraham,
Russell Squire.
Will, Sanchez,
Russell Squire.
Judy,
Russell.
myself, Russell Squire, Cos,
Squire.
Russell,
Squire.
Lynn,
Russell.
Marco,
Squire.
and Andrew, are you here? Not. I assume you're not. Carolina, Carolina, we'll pass on Carolina.
She unmuted. If your sound isn't working, audio isn't working, please put it in the chat.
We'll pass. Adam,
Russell.
Chuck,
Russell Squire.
Shari.
Abstain.
Okay, we're going back to the top of the list for passes. I'm going to call names who are not present, just in case you're present now. Vanessa Aronson, Felice Farber, Felice, Wilma, if you're present, please unmute. Evan.
Yeah, I'm here. Russell Squire.
Thank you. Andrew, if you're here, please unmute. Carolina. Carolina, if you're present.
She just unmuted, but we still can't hear anything from you, Carolina.
Carolina, if you could please type it in the chat.
She said abstain.
Oh, abstain. Thank you. I'm going to go one more time. Vanessa, Felice, Wilma, and Andrew. Let's see. Seeing none. Russell Squire is elected chair with 41 in favor, 2 abstentions, and 1 not vote for cause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations, Russell. Our next office is first vice chair, and we have 2 candidates. And at our meeting on the 9th, we had speeches and we did it in alphabetical order. So this time, I mean, not speeches, answers to questions, sorry. This time for 2-minute speeches, we'll go in reverse alphabetical order and call on Abraham Salcido for 2 minutes. There's a clock over Will's shoulder for people who need to look at things. So Abraham, why don't you take it away?
Did Russell get 3?
Yes, Russell got 3. He didn't use all 3, but he got 3. Just to be clear. Do we have Abraham unmuted?
Here and ready.
Okay, take her away.
Well, good evening, everyone. And so I've been on the board for coming on 10 years.
Abraham, hold on one second. You're not very clear, I think.
Give me one.
We'll start over again. Something's not quite right, technically.
He muted himself. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself again, Abraham. Abraham, you're still muted. So there you go.
There you go. Go ahead. Start again so we can hear you hopefully clearly.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, that's clear. Go ahead.
Okay. I've been on the community board for going on 10 years. April will be 10 years. And I'm really, it's been a wonderful experience. And I look forward to many more years being on the board. And I'm proud of the work we've done. We do good work. And I think that bears repeating. This board does good work. And I think we should all take a moment to acknowledge ourselves and really internalize that. But with any good work, there's always opportunity for improvement. And that brings me to my point that there are 3 areas that are top of mind for me. The first is outreach. I think we need to do a better job of reaching out to our community. There are too many members of the public that don't know we exist. They don't know what a community board is. There's many opportunities for us to be able to do that. Similarly, there's many members of the public that come and don't have a clear sense of what we do and how we do it. So we need to be able to clarify that so people don't walk away with disappointed because their expectations weren't met. Secondly, is decorum. I think COVID has really put us in a tough bind where we're separated from each other. We don't get the opportunity to interact the way we once did when we were in person. And for all the benefits of Zoom of allowing more accessibility, it also allows for more frustrations to build. And there's a lot of tension that has accumulated in this board over the last couple of years, much of which has been expressed in my conversations with many of you. But we don't talk about it enough. So I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room and find ways to make sure that we are working together. And even though we might not agree with each other, we can be respectful of each other. And lastly is follow through. We can do great work, and we've seen it when we really push on topics like the redistricting. And like the member of the public said earlier, we need to make sure that the agencies are hearing us. Our work isn't done when the meetings are adjourned or once the resolution is put forward to the agency. We need to make sure that we follow through and ensure that we're being heard and our resolutions are being actioned upon by the agency. So those are the things top of mind. Thank you for listening. I hope you will vote for me, and I look forward to working with you nonetheless.
Thank you, Abraham. Our next candidate is Valerie Mason, and recognized for 2 minutes. And can we unmute Valerie?
Valerie, you should be getting an option to unmute.
First, before I start, Chuck, I asked whether there was a time limit on the speech and no one ever got back to me.
Not sure when that was, but I think we talked about 2 minutes and 3 minutes for the chair.
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, okay. I can't see the timer, so.
It's over Will's shoulders. You can see Will.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you. So I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who took the time to speak to me. I really enjoyed the opportunity to exchange ideas about how we can make the community board better and a more fulfilling experience for the public and our members. In fact, it made me think that if I'm elected to first vice chair, perhaps among some of the other initiatives I would like to work with the chair on, we should make a point of checking in with members at least midway through a meeting year, sort of a semi-annual health checkup to find out how things are going. I wanted to talk about the fact that there are really no duties that are set forth for a second chair or a first vice chair, and these positions don't make you a co-chair of the community board. A vice chair can make suggestions, but doesn't run the show. And certainly if we're representing the community board at a meeting, we may only speak to the position of the board. We currently have a chair who's spoken out in his personal capacity in opposition to congestion pricing, but if he was to speak as in his board position, it's his obligation to take the board position, and I would be absolutely no different. I just want to say a couple of things. I'm running out of time and I apologize for that. My idea is coincidentally that we should, as members of the board, be limited to 2 minutes in public meetings, just like we limit the public, and we should limit electeds to the same amount of time. The other thing we should do is listen more to the community. This is the community's only place to have their voices heard. And we should encourage the electeds to stay for the entire length of our meetings so they can really hear what's happening. We also need to be more straightforward with agencies. If we require private applicants to come before us and post, we should be asking for the same, that the agencies do the same thing. And we should also require, and we can find room in our budget. If the agencies don't want to post, we can find hourly workers who want to come and put up the postings, because everyone walks in our community and can see the postings. And the point of our meetings is to have the public involved. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry I couldn't give the rest of my speech because I didn't know there was a time limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay, now we're going to go to the vote for first vice chair, and Remy will take the vote. Will, everyone should be able to unmute themselves now, correct?
Correct. Now they can.
Okay, now everyone, so everyone, please try and unmute yourself so we can see if we can move along, and everyone should express their preference for one candidate or the other. Go ahead, Remy.
Okay, thank you. Please, as Chuck said, please voice your preference. Mohit.
Abraham Salcido.
Bill.
Valerie Mason.
Elizabeth Ashby. Elizabeth?
Valerie Mason.
Thank you. Gail Barron.
Valerie Mason.
Michelle.
Valerie Mason.
Lori.
Abraham Salcido.
Kaina.
Valerie Mason.
Miss Brown.
Abraham Salcido.
Alita.
Mason.
Anthony.
Valerie Mason.
Andrea.
Abraham.
Lindsay.
Mason.
Rebecca. Dan Gore.
Valerie Mason.
Khalees.
Abraham.
Billy Freeland.
Valerie Mason.
Rami, you're muted now.
Sorry about that, Rami.
You're good. Ed.
Salcido.
David Halpern.
Salcido.
I think you can.
Sahar.
Bring your
Valerie.
Wilma.
Wilma, look for a prompt to unmute on your screen.
If she sends it to me, can I, or calls me, can I say something? She's having trouble undoing it. I called her. She just can't undo it.
Let her put it in the chat, so it comes from her directly. So Wilma, put it in the chat.
I'll pass on Wilma for now until
Right.
someone
Pass
receives
on
the
her.
chat. Paul.
Abraham Salcido.
Craig.
Wilma, you're unmuted.
Oh, you got me.
Yes.
Okay. Valerie Mason.
Thank you. Craig.
Craig, you can unmute.
Valerie.
Rebecca Lamort. Rebecca Lamort.
She's not unmuting, so you may want to pass.
Let's
and come back to
pass.
her.
Pass. Addison.
Abraham,
Valerie.
Valerie,
John McClement.
Valerie,
John
Valerie. Yes,
Thank you.
Valerie.
Thank you. Evan.
Valerie.
Gregory.
Salcido.
Jane.
Abraham,
John Phillips.
Valerie Mason.
Sharon Hope Marshall.
Valerie Mason.
Rami, I muted you.
Rita. Rita Potter.
Valerie,
Thank you. Peggy.
Valerie Mason.
Thank you. Elizabeth Rose.
Valerie Mason.
Barbara Rutter.
Abraham,
Abraham.
Abraham.
Will Sanchez.
Abraham Salcido.
Judy.
Abraham.
Myself, Valerie Mason. Koss.
Miss Mason.
Russell.
Pass.
Pass. Lynn.
Valerie,
Marco. Marco.
Mason.
Carolina.
Abraham.
Abraham. Can you confirm that? Cut out.
Abraham.
Thank you. Adam.
Valerie.
Chuck.
Abraham Salcido.
Shari.
Valerie Mason.
I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm going to call names who are everybody's absent just in case. Vanessa. Rebecca Lamort. Russell Squire.
Abstain.
Andrew. Any of those names available? Rebecca Lamort, last call. Okay. Valerie Mason is elected with 27 to 17.
Congratulations to Valerie, elected first
Congratulations.
vice chair. Okay, next office is second vice chair. And as we did the first vice chair, we'll go in reverse order. And the first speaker for 2 minutes is Sharon Pope Marshall. Can we unmute Sharon?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Thank you, Chuck. Good evening, everyone. If elected second vice chair, I'll assist the chair and first vice chair as they deem appropriate, working behind the scenes to support and balance their ideas along with your ideas as well as mine, especially implementing recommended timeframes for board member discussions during our executive sessions. I have a comprehensive institutional memory gained from years of consensus building and community outreach on the Upper East Side. As a passionate urbanist, I've advocated for sound, context-sensitive urban planning, zoning, and land use policies. In my capacity as a board member, as well as executive director for Civitas. Scale does matter to you. Whether you support the board's 210-foot height limit, Civitas's 300 to 350-foot height limit, no height limit at all, or something in between. As co-chair of CB8's Zoning and Development Committee, you will be welcomed. Our strength is in our diversity. We all want to protect our communities. There is indeed so much more impacting our district, including the need for more open space and affordable housing, tear downs of tenements to develop buildings with less occupants than they replaced, and institutional expansions into the very depths of our neighborhoods, our mid-blocks. You can be assured that I will support the chair and the first vice chair and the board to address these and other pertinent community issues. Thank you for listening. I ask for your support to become second vice chair.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Next is Rebecca Dangor. Can we unmute Rebecca for 2 minutes?
As secretary over the past 3 years, it has been a privilege striving to ensure all of your hard work is accurately accounted for in both the minutes and the vote sheets. I would be honored to continue serving this board on a more macro level as second vice chair. I believe that during both meetings and behind the scenes, I have demonstrated the strength of my candidacy for this position, as well as my leadership potential. I hope that I have earned your confidence in my ability to provide the necessary administrative support, proficiency in parliamentary procedure, adherence to public participation, and deep commitment to this board that the position requires. I would be honored to have your vote.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now we're going to vote, and I'd like to ask Rami again to do the secretarial work. And please remember, everyone can unmute ahead of time. So if everyone can unmute and be ready to vote, we'll speed the process. So take it away, Rami.
Thank you. You heard what Chuck said, so I'll just take it away from here. Mohit.
Rebecca.
Bill.
Simon Pope Marshall.
Elizabeth Ashby.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Gail Barron.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Michelle Birnbaum.
Rebecca Dangor.
Lori.
Rebecca Dangor.
Taina.
Rebecca Dangor.
Ms. Brown.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Alita.
Pope Marshall.
Anthony.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Sandrea.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Lindsay.
Rebecca Dangor.
Rebecca.
Rebecca Dangor.
Rebecca Dangor. Yes. Felice.
Rebecca.
Billy.
Rebecca.
Ed.
Sharon.
David.
Rebecca.
Sahar.
Rebecca.
Wilma. Wilma.
Wilma, look for a button to unmute.
Why don't we pass?
Pass.
Or-
Paul,
Rebecca.
Craig,
Rebecca.
Rebecca Lamort, Rebecca Lamort. I'll pass.
Pass.
Addison,
Rebecca.
Valerie,
Pass.
pass. John McClement,
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Evan,
Rebecca Dangor.
Gregory,
Pope Marshall.
Jane,
Rebecca.
John Phillips,
Rebecca Dangor.
Sharon Pope Marshall,
Me.
Rita, Rita.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Thank you. Peggy,
Rebecca Dangor.
Elizabeth Rose,
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Barbara Rutter,
Rebecca Dangor.
Abraham,
Rebecca.
Will Sanchez,
Rebecca Dancor.
Judy,
Rebecca.
myself, Rebecca, Cause,
Rebecca.
Russell,
Pass.
pass. Lynn,
Rebecca.
Marco,
Rebecca.
Carolina, Carolina,
Why don't we pass or?
Pass. Adam,
Rebecca.
Chuck,
Rebecca Dangor.
Sherry Wiener.
Sharon Pope Marshall.
Okay, we're gonna go back up to the top of the list. Wilma, you should have the
Wilma
option to
left.
unmute. She left.
She left.
Rebecca Lamort, Valerie Mason, Valerie.
Pass.
This is the pass round, but okay.
Then I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Russell,
Abstain.
I think we have Carolina now who's is
Carolina,
Abstain.
seeing that, Rebecca Dangor wins with 27-14 to 3.
Congratulations to Rebecca, second vice chair.
Congratulations, Rebecca, and thank you for considering all my candidacy.
Okay, now we have 3 secretarial positions and we have 3 candidates. And I'd like to give the candidates a chance just to say a few words before we vote. And then we vote, you can vote for any number of candidates. You don't have to, you can vote for 1, 2, or 3. We have 3 spots. So let me go back again in reverse order. Addison Lev, if you would like to make a few comments, you can unmute Addison.
Yep, I'll be brief. Can everyone hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. As you all know, I'm running to be one of the 3 secretaries of the community board. Although I've been on the board for just a few months, having the opportunity to serve the neighborhood that I love so much has been an absolute privilege. I'd like to continue my work on the board as secretary because that's how I believe I can be most helpful to the board and to the community. I'm proficient in technology, note-taking, and organization, and I will apply my skills and expertise to ensure that votes, quorums, and minutes are recorded both quickly and accurately. It has been an honor to serve the Upper East Side with all of you, and I'd be honored to be able to continue our work together as one of the secretaries. Thank you so much for your time and consideration, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Edison. The next is Felice Farber. Felice? I'm going to mute Felice.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be considered as one of the secretaries for the board. I'm honored to be on the board and to be considered for this position. For those who work with me on various committees, I'm diligent, hardworking, and very organized. And I look forward to working with Addison as well as Andrea on doing a good job of keeping the minutes and keeping the board organized. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, please. And our final speaker is Sandrea Coleman. Can we unmute Sandrea?
Thank you. Greetings all. I look forward to serving another year as a secretary of this very well diverse community board. I was appointed in 2020 and reappointed this year. I have emailed many of you with a lengthy bio and a video clip for your consideration. I have 40 years of volunteer service under my belt. I clearly love to serve my community and beyond. I am medically retired from the New York City Police Department as I served as a senior administrative aide. I supervised payroll for the Detective Bureau of Manhattan as well as Manhattan North Detective Operations. I have held many volunteer positions in an administrative capacity as well as a recording secretary. I have always been diligent as well as one to simply get things done. I look forward to working with Felice and Addison in the new year, as well as our other elected officers. The vote count is extremely important. It is a task that should be done with accuracy, and that is what I will strive for each and every time. I do not take anyone's vote for granted, and I once again ask that you consider my candidacy for secretary and vote for me. Thank you and blessings to you all.
Thank you, Sandrea. That concludes our speeches, and now we have the vote for secretary. And again, people can unmute now. I think we'll set that up.
1 second.
In 1 second, okay. And Rami's going to do the honors again. We appreciate his work here. And when he calls the roll, people can vote for as many of the 3 names as they want. And again, Sandrea Coleman, Felice Farber, and Addison Lev. And we have 3 candidates for 3 places, 3 secretarial spaces. Go ahead, Rami. Take it away.
Really quickly, Rami, before you go, just a reminder to everybody, he's going to have to record 3 votes. So just read your names slowly. So you give Rami plenty of time to vote between each person, and just be slow in your enunciation of who you're voting for. Sorry, Rami.
Yes, thank you. And bear with me while I call the names of people absent. I just want to make sure they are present. Mohit, I believe he's absent, but if you're present, no. Bill?
All 3, Sandrea Coleman, Felice Farber, and Addison.
Thank you. Vanessa Aronson, I believe she's absent. Elizabeth Ashby. Elizabeth Ashby.
3.
Thank you. Andrea, Felice, and Addison. Gail.
I realize I was muted, sorry. Yes, Sandrea, Felice, and Addison.
Thank you. Michelle?
Coleman, Farber, and Lev.
Thank you. Lori?
Yes, all 3, Farber, Lev, and Coleman, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Taina?
Coleman, Farber, and Lev.
Ms. Brown, Ms. Brown,
She's
I'll
here, but just
pass.
not unmuted, so pass.
Okay, I'll pass. Lita, I believe she's absent, but just making sure. Anthony,
Coleman, Barber, and Lev.
Sandrea,
Addison, Felice, and Sandrea.
Lindsay,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Rebecca Dangor,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Felice,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Billy Freeland,
Coleman, Farber, and Lev.
Ed, Ed Hartzog.
He has a coffee cup up, so pass for him.
Okay, passing on Ed. David,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Sahar,
Felice, Sandria, and Addison.
thank you. Wilma, I don't know if you're present.
I don't see her here right now.
Pass. Paul,
Coleman, Farber, and Lev.
Craig,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Rebecca Lamort, I don't believe she's present, but I'll pass on her. Addison,
Sandrea, Felice, and Addison.
thank you. Valerie Mason,
Coleman, Farber, and Lev.
John McClement,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Evan,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Jane. Oh, Gregory.
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Jane,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
John Phillips,
Addison, Farber, and Lev.
You voted for Addison twice.
I'm sorry, Farber. I'm sorry, what is Addison's last name?
Lev.
Lev, I'm sorry.
But you're voting for all three candidates.
Yeah, Coleman and Farber.
Coleman, you got to repeat your vote again.
Sure. Addison,
Sandrea
Coleman.
Addison,
Yeah.
Sandrea Coleman, Felice
And
Farber.
Farber.
Thank you. Sharon, Pope Marshall.
Yes, Addison, Felice, and Sandrea.
Thank you. Rita,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Peggy,
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Elizabeth, Rose,
Sandrea, Felice, Addison.
Barbara Rutter,
Addison, Felice, and Sandrea.
Abraham,
Addison, Felice, and Sandrea.
Will Sanchez,
Addison, Felice, and Sandrea.
Judy, Judy Schneider.
Felice, Addison, Sandrea.
Thank you. For myself, Sandrea, Felice, and Addison. Cause.
Addison, Felice, Andrea.
Russell.
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Lynn.
All three.
Thank you. Marco.
All three.
Carolina.
The trio, please.
Thank you. Adam.
Coleman, Farber, Lev.
Chuck.
Coleman, Farber, and Lev.
Shari Weiner.
Addison, Felice, and Sandrea.
Okay, I'm going back up to the top. Mohit, if you were present. Vanessa, if you were present. Miss Brown, if you were present. Alita, if you were present. Ed Hartzog, if you were present. I don't know if he still has a coffee cup. Wilma, if you were present. Rebecca Lamort, if you're present. Andrew, if you were present. Any of the names I just called. Again, Alita, Ed, Wilma, Rebecca Lamort, Andrew. Last call. Seeing none. Everybody is elected. 40, 40, 40 for each candidate.
Thank you. Congratulations to our secretary. And I want to congratulate all of the winners and all of the candidates who ran. I think it was turned out to be I think people seem to think it went well, and I believe it did. But I think this is the first year of the new elections committee, and people should let us know and how you think it went. And I want to thank also Rami for doing yeoman work and handling all of this. And and again, thank our committee. And that's the elections committee report, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Rami, and thank you very much, Chuck. And thank you to everybody on the elections committee. You guys did a good job. So with that, we will turn it over to the transportation committee. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, we are going to go and do our Borough President's report, and we will turn it over to Mina for that.
Hi, good evening, Community Board 8. So sorry the Borough President couldn't be on. He's helping to co-sponsor a turkey giveaway, so he's unable to make it. But I do just want to first say that there has been a string of anti-Semitic violence along the Upper East Side last week, and that, we just asked all of us to stand against hate. And I also would like to say that last week, Deputy Borough President Keisha Sutton James, she did join Howard Teach Network and Member Seawright in honoring women veterans. And we honored our first woman FDNY commissioner, Laura Kavanaugh. So that was exciting and a wonderful event that occurred last week. In addition to what has been reported before, our office has heard the concerns of 520 East 91st Street, and we look forward to submitting that joint letter to OTI in regards to removing that pole, that 5G pole. And also the Borough President was also happy to join, myself included, the Muslim Volunteers from New York. Happy to join Sahar, your fellow board member, as well as Alita Camp in joining the efforts of cleaning Rupert Park. That was a really great event that happened last month. As we still deal with the open meetings law, we're waiting. Hopefully that has been extended, but right now it is been extended to November 21st. We are also still collecting donations for asylum seekers. So you can drop it off at our downtown office at 1 Center Street for the hours of 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., as well as our uptown office, 431 West 125th Street, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. We're asking for winter clothing, as well as packaged items, toiletries, socks, etc. As Will mentioned before, we're in our community board leadership training series, and that is until this week. However, we will have this again in the spring, and we also will have a virtual option for, I know CB8 was impacted, but also other Manhattan boards that had their various community meetings and full board meetings during this week. But we will make sure that everyone has a chance to join those trainings, including members of the public. So this is not closed to board members only. And also the borough president will also, our office, we will speak to your Parks and Waterfront Committee and each board within Manhattan Parks Committee regarding the Million Trees initiative over the coming weeks. That was something that was announced in the beginning of his being in the office. And it was an agreement amongst all 5 borough presidents to really increase the number of trees that are throughout New York City. And so we just are hoping that all Manhattan community boards will support this initiative to just increase shade and, of course, provide the necessary environmental needs that trees provide to this concrete jungle. I'm sure many of you saw in New York One that the borough president did speak about a coastal resiliency agency that he's proposing in hopes that the city will create a separate agency that sole responsibility will be over the waterfronts throughout the city. And this would just streamline coastal resiliency projects and also provide better accountability to ensuring that, our coastal fronts are strong and can withstand, of course, storms, as this is the 10th year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. And as what was mentioned before regarding the package of rat mitigation legislation that was passed in the city council, the borough president also co-sponsored one of those bills that was Intro 442 with Councilmember Botcher, and that just requires that for any new building that is going up in a neighborhood, that it is mandated that a licensed exterminator is also retained during that construction site to treat rodents. And also the public bathrooms legislation also passed. That is Intro 258. And the city council will now create a study to at least create one public bathroom in every zip code. And so that's very exciting. And so that concludes my report. I'll say it briefly, but I'll send it to you. Well, our office is hosting a Wednesdays at the Met. As you know, the Met is closed on Wednesdays, but we're opening it to an event specifically for seniors. So it's for those 65 and up. They're providing us with a number of exhibits to tour the Met between 1:30 and 4:30. I will send you the flyer. But if anyone would like to join, we've primarily been blasting it to senior centers, but I did just want to announce it in CB8 as well, if anyone was also interested and available. And that is on Wednesday, November 30th from 11:30 to 4:30. So thank you so much for giving me this time, and have a great rest of the meeting, and congratulations to everyone who was elected.
Thank you. All right, now we will turn it over to the Transportation Committee for the first of our committee reports. The election.
Thank you, Russell. I know Craig is here. I just want to deviate for a minute, actually, to say that I was remiss in my elections committee report for not thanking Will Brightbill, our district manager, for all the great help he was in helping us as a committee organize things and manage the process. And so he was terrific, and I just want that on the record. Getting back to transportation, we have 2 resolutions that we want to present to the full board. And Craig, do you want to take the car share one, the first one? Is Craig there, I assume?
Yeah, I'm here.
Why
Hi, good
don't
evening,
you take the
everyone.
car share one?
Sure. So the first resolution is in regards to one specific component of the car share program. So DOT came to us essentially requesting 8 locations for car share spaces where on-street parking would be dedicated to 2 different car share companies. 6 of those locations and 2 spaces apiece. 6 of those locations would be for a traditional car share program with a company called Get Around, and 2 would be dedicated to a company called Truck It, which would provide essentially car sharing using pickup trucks. So we did not take a position on the car share program. We did take a vote, and it didn't result in a position, but we did take a vote to disapprove the use of pickup trucks in the New York City DOT car share program, and specifically at locations within our community, given that people had concerns about safety and the size of pickup trucks as car share vehicles, and a number of concerns related to that. So the vote itself was, just pulling that up here, was 13 yes and 1 no on that. Let me see if there are any hands up. If anyone wants to make a motion, or if anyone has any comments, please raise your hands.
I think Rami wants to.
I would like to make a motion, but I'd like to yield to Judy if she has a comment.
Or call a question, and then I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
call the question, but I want to let others speak if anyone wants to speak.
Well, maybe if
I
you.
was going to call the question as well.
Okay, call the
There we
question.
go. So
Is there
let's-
a second? There's a second, yes, right. So all in favor of calling a question, or is there anyone opposed to calling a question? Okay. Why don't one of the
If you'd like to
secretary?
vote no, if you'd like
Right.
to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Barbara Rudder.
She was
Oh,
seconding the.
Down. So the item passes unanimously.
Okay. The second item, by the way, the one comment I would like to make is I can't remember a meeting where a majority of the public speakers were commenting on our transportation items. So it was I found that very interesting. I don't know how often that'll happen. Okay, our next item was item 3, and that had to do with the Allen Stevenson School on East 78th Street and the Open Streets program. You know, this started in September at our board meeting, and we had a number of complaints, and we had another meeting in October and also another meeting in November. And I think has been said, the Allen Stevenson School was, they tried to, they were very cooperative, and they made all kinds of changes, which tried to make things easier to get into the block. I think the major concern that we had, two concerns. I mean, that a lot of the public felt very inconvenienced by the way it was operated, and particularly the number of doctors' offices. And you heard from some of those doctors tonight, the number of doctors' offices that are there and that people have a problem accessing. And you heard the problem with Uber, where they won't go onto the street, even though they're supposed to be able to get on. So the school does have a gym now, and they're getting a play area on the roof. And they're waiting, it's been a while, but now at the last meeting, they indicated that they thought by the end of the year that would be done. And so when we looked at everything here, we passed a resolution that basically said, request that DOT allow the Allen Stevenson School's open street on East 78th Street between Park Avenue and Lexington Avenue to remain in place until the school obtains all required permits and approvals for its rooftop play area, at which time DOT shall revoke the open street permit. This open street program is on a number of streets, but this is the only street that has come forward with a complaint. And we thought it was a particularly difficult situation with so many doctors' offices on the street. And this was a resolution that was passed 12-1, including, you know, our public member made it 13-1. So if anyone who wants to comment on this, Michelle, would you like to?
Wait, actually, can
Oh,
I?
you want to start? You want to say
I
something?
made a mistake. I apologize. The minutes are wrong. The vote was, the vote was not that. I'm just trying to find my records here. It was not a close vote. I thought it was,
No.
but it was not. Actually, I can tell you right now. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 3 no votes, and I believe at that point we had
Were there 14 people?
13. A few people had dropped off at that point, 13 or so people. So I think it was 10-3, but let me confirm that. But I apologize for that. I will correct the record on our minutes.
I'll state for the record that Craig's minutes are usually great, so we can forgive him this little issue if it is an issue. Okay, can we go to Michelle? Unmute Michelle.
Thank you. Yeah, the public on this was very, very forthcoming. They had come to, I believe, 3 meetings with a very big showing. And it was very, very clear, certainly to me, and I proposed this resolution, it was very clear to me that they are seriously disrupted here. These people did not come forward with some frivolous thing that they just don't want the school. They are very, very seriously impacted. And imagine if you lived there, if you had to get permission each time to come down the street to either your home, your office, your place of business. The fact that they issued passes, there's no legal validation of those passes. They simply printed up a piece of paper. There's no way that a doctor could get such a pass to a patient at a patient's home who was planning to come down that street. So, and that was really the big issue. And a lot of these practices, one is an OR, an operating room, and a lot of it is elderly patients, but even so, any patient coming out of a procedure needs access quickly to get back to wherever they want to go. So I really urge you to consider the community here, because the inconvenience to the school is very, very minimal. They spent millions building this roof play area. And while we're very sympathetic to them, while that play area is not yet usable, it's certainly, when it is usable, it makes perfect sense in light of the inconvenience caused to everybody else for them to go up to the roof and to use that. They can have the same schedule, the same number of kids, anything they want. Now, let me say that they were cooperative. The school did the best that they could in order to address the concerns. But what happened in their addressing of the concerns, they actually caused other very, very dangerous safety hazards. Because by putting the play area only in front of the school and allowing cars and big vans and trucks and emergency vehicles to come into the street, it necessitated them having to turn around to exit the street back to Park Avenue as against a one-way coming in the opposite direction, which made them very vulnerable to cars coming north on Park, not expecting a vehicle to exit that way. And as somebody mentioned, one of these vehicles attempted to back out and almost hit a truck. It created a very dangerous situation. So all in all, because there is a solution for the school and there is no solution other than getting rid of the play street after the rooftop becomes available, there's no solution for the residents. I think it's a no-brainer to unanimously support this resolution, and I hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Barbara Rudder, I think, is next. Can we unmute Barbara?
I'm a little less sympathetic than others are. I thought, by the way, that the resolution was going to be that there was a hard stop at the end of December. It sounds like if the roof isn't finished, that they can continue along the way.
Yeah, until they get their approvals. I think, Barbara, the feeling, if I can just say, the feeling was that the Department of Transportation is not that eager to just cut them off. And so we thought that this made the best approach. This was the best approach to say, all right, once they have the play roof, there's really no further need for it in this particular situation. But they said to us that they're really done. They just need the approvals and the sign off from the buildings department. So and they thought surely by the end of the year it would be done. So that we thought it was the best under the circumstances.
If I can say I agree with everything Michelle said. In addition, I can't believe that the biking community isn't there. That picture they wanted to show that the bike can go down and the kids are going the side. The kids were all over the place. There is going to be an accident between the cars, between the bikes, the kids going around. This is not a safe area, a safe situation. And I happen to feel strongly that this public streets are not for individual. Other schools bring their kids to Central Park. They're not far from Central Park. They certainly can go over there if they want. I wish there was a hard stop, because I know from my building that, you know, we get notices that in 2 weeks something is done. We always want to know which year they're talking about. And so I wish that there was a hard stop where they can go use the outdoors. It's going to be winter. They probably don't want the outdoors anyway for the few months. I'm very worried about it. I saw that picture and it looked dangerous to me, not only for the cars. I agree with Michelle, but the bikes also.
Thank you, Barbara.
I just put sent to Will the correct voting tallies and names in the chat, so hopefully he will be able to send that to everyone. But it was 10 yes, 3 no at the committee level.
Okay, Marco Tamayo, can we unmute Marco?
Thank you, Chuck. I think I should start saying that when this school came to the community board asking for a discretionary action, exactly they complained that they need to have a space on the roof. And one person, I don't remember who was the visionary at that time, asked this question: are you planning to use the street? And they say, no. Now, taking advantage of the city that offer to use the streets, I think is wrong. They had a lot of benefit with the floor area. And now, not only they don't care about the community, they don't care about the doctors. There are many patients that go over there. They really, there are people that are sick, and they really need to have the service at that time. With respect, that said, oh, they don't have anything ready. Well, I didn't do the research in the DOB, but if they are operating right now, that means that they have a TCO. That means a temporary certificate of occupancy. And once you have that document, they are available to use the whole facility, because the students are over there. So they have to have a TCO. And therefore, I think it's just only a little bit more, they create inconvenience and they take as much as advantage as possible from the community. But they don't care about the community. They only care about themselves. I think it's wrong to support one more day. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Let me just explain something here that I think we ought to think about as a board. The Department of Transportation, has this open streets program, and there are like, I don't know, about 20 of them in our districts, something along those lines. And they support this program, and all school has to do is apply, and they get in fairly easily. We only have complaints about the Alan Stevenson situation. And I think it's fair to say that there was a letter from Ed Pinkar, who was the borough commissioner, about this, and the tenor of that letter was, well, let's give them a chance to see if they can do better. We didn't think we should go as far, and that's why, you know, Michelle's resolution, which was supported by, you know, most of our committee, you know, keys it to this play area. And we think that's something that hopefully the Department of Transportation will accept, because I think, as you know, we had some of the speakers in the public session talk about the board ought to be aggressive in doing this stuff, but I think we're always in a position where we're advisory and we have to work with the agencies to get things done. And this, we hope, will get the best result for the community. Rami?
I'd like to call the
Can we unmute Rami?
unmuted. Did you get
What,
that?
He's unmuted.
Okay,
I'd like to call the question.
okay. Is that we have a couple more hands here.
Michelle seconds.
Is there, okay, a second,
Right.
okay.
Thank you. It's
Um,
me.
Anyone who's against calling the question, raise their hands. Okay, oh, I see Rita. I don't know if that's a thumbs up or what that is, but anyway.
It's a thumbs up.
Okay, the question's been called, so we'll turn it over to one of the secretaries.
Okay, it's me. If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for call, please raise your hand. Barbara,
Abstain.
Craig,
I'm voting no.
Paul. Oh, Addison. I'm sorry.
As I did last time, I'm going to vote no, vote for cause, because my relationship with the school remains substantial.
Thank you. Paul.
No.
Paul. Thank you. Marco.
No, thank you.
John.
No.
Anthony.
No.
Did Barbara want to change something?
Barbara, did you want to change?
Yeah, I'm going for the no.
Wait, what did you vote originally?
I did abstain. Let me change it
Okay.
to no, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
John.
No.
Myself is a no. Is there anyone else? David?
No.
Andrea?
No.
Was that a no? Just nod your head.
Oh, we can't do, no. Thank you.
No, thank you. Rita?
No.
Last call? Seeing no others, the resolution passes. I believe we're 42, so 31.
Okay, I think we can do we can get the
Yeah.
final count.
31, it passes.
I think that
Okay.
that concludes our report, Russell. Transportation.
Excellent. Thank you. All right,
31
next
to
we will
11 to
go.
1. Sorry.
Okay.
31 to 11 to 1.
So we'll go next to the Landmarks Committee, David and Jane. And I will just observe there were some unanimous approvals here. So certainly in order to move to take those together. And hopefully, you know, those won't require as much discussion in any event.
The Landmarks Committee heard 5 applications on this past Monday evening. As Russell said, 20 East 78th Street, the Surrey Hotel was a unanimous approval. And then Part A, 829 Madison, Part A was a unanimous approval, Part B, a unanimous disapproval. So I don't know if there's an interest in taking those together. Rebecca?
I would move that we take item 3 and item 5, Part A together, and then vote on item 5, Part B before returning to the rest of the landmarks agenda.
Is there a second?
Aye.
Okay, I think we have a second. Marco and Judy has her hand up. So,
All right, so we're gonna.
So it's the question's been called on those two items that Rebecca mentioned.
it's item 3 and item 5, Part A.
So if you would like to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause on these unanimous approvals, please raise your hand. Seeing none, those items pass unanimously, and I'll turn it over to to Rami for Part B.
If you don't call the question on that. Are we voting?
I'm sorry.
We
What do you?
had to take them separately because 2 were approvals, 1 was a disapproval.
We're voting right now.
Yeah, the question was
Okay.
called on B also.
Okay, if you're voting
No, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand.
So this is, just to be clear, this is resolution 5B, voting on the disapproval.
Elizabeth,
No.
Oh, sorry, was I called?
you're
You're
ahead.
unmuted.
Okay, no.
Anyone else? Seeing none, resolution passes. Oh, Michelle?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not following you. You know, I'm trying to read where we are on my cell phone because we're not posting the resolutions on the
We're
screen.
voting on resolution 5B. Then
So
it's not
that-
unanimous.
Now, just to clarify, is 5B about an awning?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the awnings. I mean, David can speak to it.
Okay, was that a unanimous disapproval?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Okay, all right, I'll take my hand down for that.
Seeing no other votes, resolution passes 40-2.
So we're going to go back to number 1, which was 21 East 90th Street. It was a disapproval of a proposed penthouse renovation. There was, everyone on the committee voted to disapprove except for Anthony Cohen. I don't know whether he wants to speak to this or not. Anthony? This was it's a beautiful building, a George F. Pelham building. The applicant wanted to replace 2 terrace doors with a chimney in between to a solid pane of glass, a glass window system. And most of the people on the committee felt that it would destroy the integrity of that front elevation of the penthouse and that we should respect the architect's original design.
Oh, okay. The reason couple of reasons why I voted against the disapproval, and in fact would have voted in favor had it come out that way. The first is that this is the back of the building, and it is only through the happy accident of the continued existence of the Carnegie Mansion, now the Cooper Hewitt Museum, that we can see it at all. And it seemed to me that the architects were making what was basically a fairly sensitive and faithful reconfiguring of an existing condition, and I think, and so that was why at root, I thought it was a perfectly acceptable renovation and did nothing to disrupt the overall harmony of the building. And in fact, unless you know it's on the top of that particular building, it's just another piece of architecture in the sky. And that was why I thought that it was perfectly appropriate.
Thank you, Anthony. It is visible from Central Park because you look over the Carnegie Mansion, which is so beautiful, so you can see it. Thank you. Is there? Does
I would
anyone
only,
call the question?
I would only just say that I don't totally agree with Anthony. The original is part of the design, and the original is faithful to the design. This is a contemporary window system which is put into a traditional building, and it's visible. So I don't agree with Anthony that it's faithful to the building. You can accept the fact possibly that it's different and say, okay, but it is definitely not faithful to the original architecture.
Thank you, David. Does anyone want to call the question?
We have a few hands up. Elizabeth Rose is first.
Elizabeth, could we get rid of this?
I had a question about this. So they're relocating the fireplace and chimney. They did, on the materials, it's described as a decorative chimney, but is it a decorative fireplace? Or
I think
it's actually a relocation of a functioning fireplace.
I don't know, because we do not discuss interior spaces. However, the chimney is quite beautiful with some of the polychrome decoration at the very top of it. And they are moving the chimney to a different location on the penthouse to create the glass wall, which you can see in the elevation that's in front of you. I'm assuming it's a working fireplace or
Isn't there a prohibition in the city against building new working fireplaces? And if so, wouldn't this be considered a new working fireplace?
I think David can answer that more than me. We really didn't discuss whether it worked or not. We were more concerned with the context and appropriateness within the historic district on this beautiful building, whether the chimney should be relocated at all.
To the best of my knowledge, looking at the plans, it's a working fireplace. What we're doing is relocating a working fireplace. I can't tell you how the building department would rule on that. Marco may know better than any of us how the building department would rule on that. But you're right about new fireplaces. They can't be wood fireplaces.
Thank you. So I'm going to oppose it, but for a different reason than the Landmarks Committee.
Well, we're here for context and appropriateness, as you know. Does anybody want to call the question? If you take down the
You have a number of
screen-
there's a bunch of other hands.
Well, I'd love to, if we remove the screen share, I could see who had their hands up. Okay, Michelle.
So Rebecca, then Rami, then Michelle, in that order
Okay.
of raising their hands.
Okay, Rebecca.
I just had a quick question. I don't think I've ever seen the only two other no votes be from the public members. So I just was curious if they brought up any other points than Anthony mentioned
No.
earlier.
Rebecca, they
Okay,
did.
thank you.
You're welcome. Who did you say had their hand up next? Rami? Rami?
Yeah, Rami, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
I see the other hands, but I'm gonna call the question.
Oh, Michelle, did you want to make a comment?
It was seconded by Marco.
Oh, so we can, okay.
Let's just keep going.
I agree. It's a long night.
Is it,
Okay,
So
so
call
we
the
can
question?
have a roll call vote.
Yeah, it just, if you were opposed to calling the question, now is the time to raise your hand. If not, we'll move to the vote. All
All
right.
right, if you'd like to vote no, abstain or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Addison,
No. Oh, sorry, did you?
Yeah, I got you. Anyone else? Anthony? Can we unmute Anthony?
This is voting on the resolution.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so, no.
I'll give everyone one more second. Seeing no other hands, the resolution carries.
And the next item is 33 East 93rd Street. And this is the sign, the Knockout Beauty sign that they talked about. I think we need to share screen, please, Will, so they can see the sign and the context. You can't really talk about this in the abstract. Okay, so you can see that this is a residential building in character. The base is retail. It's Knockout Beauty. You can see the sign in the middle growing out, and you can see from afar the sign on the left. And if we can go to the next slide. On Madison Avenue, they do have a sign in the window. Not as strong, obviously, as the sign that they would have on the corner. The majority of the committee felt that the sign was simply not appropriate in its design relative to the traditional architecture that we're looking at. And it's not up to us to design, it's only up to us to think about context and appropriateness, but there are many ways to design signs. So I think there are people who oppose this from our committee, and maybe Michelle or Anthony wants to talk to it. I see both of them have their hands up. So I guess we'll give Michelle the first crack, since Anthony got the first crack on the other one.
Okay, thank you, David. Can we go back to the sign that's really the objectionable one, which is in the front of the building? It's the preceding, yeah, it's hard to see, but if you look at the picture all the way on the right, you see how the sign is set on two posts into the bed of greenery. You can see the sign, the actual sign, more closely in the middle picture. That's what the sign looks like. The sign is not an unattractive sign. It's an attractive sign. It's just not appropriate for this building. And the way it's set in a bunch of greenery, sitting out in front of the building, not touching the building, not affixed to the building, just away from the building, set in to the middle of the greenery, which when winter comes along or whatever, I don't know what happens to all that ivy. It's an unusual building. We can all admit that with all the greenery. But in the winter time, I don't know what happens if that bed recedes and you've got just these two big posts sticking out. It's not attractive. Now, it's not appropriate, I should say. It's not our job to design, but I appreciate their need for having additional signage because their doorway is all the way over. If you look at all of the greenery, the doorway is to the extreme left. So the sign is not even near the doorway, but they wanted a sign closer to the intersection. However, there is another way to do it, and that is with it attached with a building flag. Which a lot of buildings do have, which have very specific design constraints by landmarks, and which could serve them well, and which could be appropriate to the historic district.
Michelle, you're starting to design.
That's my
Please.
comment.
In any event, it's up to us to make a judgment on what we're seeing. not to make other options available. Anthony?
Thank you, David. I think actually that one of the problems perhaps that that we have looking at commercial signage on what were originally residential buildings is that if we permit a sign on a building or think that it's an okay expression, we're kind of stuck with it even when the tenant has departed, and there are now, even if the sign is gone, there may be holes in the building where the sign had been originally introduced. And in fact, it seemed to me that there was something, and I don't think I was completely alone in this, there was something refreshing about a commercial tenant in a building who was in fact not touching the building with the sign. The sign sits in the greenery in front of the building, and if in fact they, God forbid, go out of business or just move, the sign can go away without requiring any work to repair the existing historic fabric of the building. So it seemed to me to be not such a bad solution. And certainly, as Michelle pointed out, the sign is barely visible through the greenery. It may in fact be less obtrusive and in a way less successful as a sign than it would be if it were in fact something else, not designed by us, something else attached to the building. So that was why I felt that this was actually achieved appropriateness. Thank you.
I saw Russell's hand up, but I don't see it now.
Anthony made the points I was going to make, so.
Rami,
Call the question.
anybody opposed?
I got it seconds.
So a yes is a disapproval.
If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand. Anthony?
No.
Russell?
No.
Elizabeth?
No.
John Phillips?
No.
Addison?
No.
Police?
No.
Shari? Oh, Judy? Oh,
No. No.
thank you.
Sherry's a no.
Thank you. Sahar?
Nope.
Lindsay?
No.
Adam?
No.
Bill?
No.
Gail?
No.
Sandrea?
No.
Ed?
No.
Elizabeth?
No.
Myself is a no. Resolution carries. I'll get you a final total in a minute.
So we're gonna move ahead to number 4, 7 East 81st Street, the 4-story row house. There was a previously approved certificate of appropriateness, and the two items in question are amendments to that certificate of appropriateness. One, to extend the excavation into the rear yard, underneath the rear yard, for an additional 21 feet. And the other is to expand the penthouse or the bulkhead by an additional, I guess, 115 square feet. The penthouse was previously approved in a previously approved L-shaped configuration, and this would actually create infill so that it would present as a square. And the windows on the front elevation, it's set back 40 feet from the cornice, are sort of present as a glass sheet, whereas the windows in the back are more decorative and sort of present as an l'orangerie. There were 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Alita and Michelle, I think, based on the configuration of the windows. So I don't know if either of them want to speak to that. Michelle.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. It was mainly the skylight. It had all the windows in the front, but the skylight was very substantial. It can be seen from a point, not under the building, but as you cross however many streets away, it can be seen. And when there's light up there, they were converting that into a livable structure. In other words, people will be living there. When that is lit up, it will be quite lit up. So I didn't think it was appropriate, the design of the skylight, that it goes into sort of a pyramid. I did not think it was appropriate to the building.
Peggy? I can't hear what.
Call the question.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there a second?
Aye.
All in favor? Any
Anyone
opposed?
opposed?
So we can go to a roll call.
All right, if you'd like to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Michelle,
No.
anyone else? Seeing no other hands, the resolution carries.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you. We will move next to the Environment Committee. So I will turn it over to Sahar and Barbara and Lynn.
Thank you, Russell. I'm going to let Barbara speak.
Well, it's interesting. We have a resolution that has been spoken to at our public meeting with Senator Kruger's representative. We had a meeting to discuss the state's initiatives for propositions and bills and so on to combat climate change, and it was numerous. The notes are very long, and I hope you don't find too many errors. The meeting was last night, so it was the quick turnaround. The one thing that did come up was the batteries on the e-vehicles, the e-bikes, the e-scooters, and so on, that have been causing a lot of problems. What we heard last night, it was the ones that were remakes that were causing the problems. And even though we know the city is having hearings and so on, things can drag out. And we've heard, I think we've all heard on television that there's been deaths and fires and so on. So, and the other issue is that the people there are those that are charging their bikes, their e-vehicles in their homes because there aren't enough charging stations. So our resolution said that we urge immediately to ban the batteries that are causing the problem, and they know which ones are causing a problem, and secondarily to build affordable charging stations. One suggestion was the newspaper stands that are not being used to make that available for it. I think that Senator Kruger's bill, which won't even be heard until January, may be going further. So this would go to the city, and we thought that this is something that should happen immediately, and it was unanimous. Rami?
I have the vote count on the previous resolution. That was item 2. That was 26 to 16. I'd also like to call the question.
Okay, anybody second?
I see Paul.
Okay.
It is me. If you're
Anyone
voting-
opposed to calling the question? No.
If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hands. Judy?
Yes, I had a point of information, which with this system is difficult. Barbara, wasn't the resolution also supposed to go to the city and the state officials?
Yeah, yeah.
You just mentioned,
No, I'm saying because the state, my point was because what we learned at the public meeting is the senator's doing it. I said it certainly needs to go to the city, but absolutely, city, state, and everybody else, Judy.
okay, thank you.
It applies to all, yeah.
So Judy, you're voting yes, I assume. So
Yes,
Michelle,
I'm voting yes.
Michelle,
Abstain.
anyone else? Seeing none, the resolution passes 40 2 to 1 to 0 to 1. 42 to 0 to 1. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the Environment Committee. All right, next we will go to the Roosevelt Island Committee, Paul and Lynn. You just speak, Paul.
It's Russell. I think Lynn may have left.
Yeah, so take it away.
Yeah, so firstly, Lynn wanted me to thank you very much, Will, as do I thank you for all the work you did on the mapping for redistricting. It was fantastically helpful, so thank you, Will. The only resolution I want to bring to you all today is the one about UNI, bike storage. Bike storage is something that's needed all over New York, including Roosevelt Island. It turns out it's the second biggest by far reason people don't use bikes in the city after safety. If you can't lock your bike up at work or near work safely and it's going to get stolen, you're not going to ride a bike. UNI is a small company. They're a startup founded in Brooklyn a few years ago, less than 5 years ago, young founders. And in fact, they were brought to us by Sharon Pope Marshall. They have a series of bike storage solutions, and I've asked Will to drop their website into the chat. Solutions including all the way from inside buildings where they put in their storage solution, or something called the UNI Pod, which is what we're talking about today, an on-street parking shelter that's locked for people to use to store their bikes. The various questions we got at the committee were not that many, to be honest, but the most obvious one was cost. There's no cost to the person with the bicycle. The cost either is borne by the place putting the pod in or advertising. The second question that was mostly asked about was how is it cleaned and maintained? Not just the inside, but also the outside. There was concern that it would be just put somewhere, then left to gather leaves and dust and go dirty. And the company said that it would be cleaned very carefully, and the ones they have already, they're maintained and cleaned at their cost. There has been a pilot in New York City, across the city, in all the boroughs, and I believe in New Jersey as well. So the resolution is very straightforward. Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation that runs this place is currently doing a redo of some of the surface area for bike lane and other amenities. And so to time in with that, the resolution is to ask REOC, the operating corporation, to investigate whether they can include UNI pods or similar bike storage in their plans, importantly with consultation of people in the community about where they might be placed. That's the resolution. It was passed unanimously. And so I guess I'm bringing that to the board.
In the absence of any hands, I will call the question unless Elizabeth has a substantive comment.
Yes, actually, I would like to make propose a friendly amendment to the resolution. I am which if seconded, I will speak to. I guess, do I need to do that? I'd like to propose that it be commercially neutral, that we not name a specific solution provider, but that we encourage our IOC to ensure that there is appropriate protected biking storage. But my concern is, unless there's been a robust survey of all possible solutions that recommending a specific provider is inappropriate.
If I may, I think unfortunately we're in a position where there is nothing else. These are the only people who do this. They're the first people doing it. My hope is we'll have
Well,
lots more people doing
it's
something.
one type of storage. It's not the only type of storage.
We
It's
have
not
other
the-
types of storage. We
it's not
have
the
some.
only solution for parking bikes.
Well, right now, if you come to our promenade, which is the most wonderful thing, you have a wonderful view of Manhattan. On some of our park benches, which are put together, they've been co-opted by people to park their bikes because there's nowhere to save them, to keep them safe. So we need to provide more sane, rational ways of doing it than that.
Completely agree. I just
guess
don't
I'm not
like,
really good at
I don't like endorsing a single commercial provider.
Okay.
So Paul, you don't want to do the friendly amendment. So then
do
Elizabeth,
not.
if you want to
No, we had a
continue
presentation.
to,
That's right.
understood. Okay, so you can still make the amendment and we can vote on it.
Okay, I would like to propose an amendment that completely supports that our IOC provide appropriate, protected, appropriate bike storage solutions and parking solutions without naming a specific provider.
Okay, is there a second?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, let's continue with the discussion.
I'm next, but I'll yield if anyone has a substantive comment. I'm gonna call the question, but
John has his hand up.
It's more of a question. Just to be clear, these pods are designed for intermittent parking of bikes, or is this long-term storage of bikes? I.e. a tenant who doesn't want to bring the bike to their apartment, but rather would park it on the street indefinitely.
Oh no, it's permanent storage, but it's intermittent. It's like using a city bike for parking. So it's not, there's no given space you have. You could use, I think the idea is to have pods everywhere around all the boroughs, so you can park your bike wherever you're going. There are very few on the street right now. So there was one outside the Barclays Center for about 2 years. You may have seen it there.
And if you could just speak to how this actually functions, if you don't mind.
I don't know the technicals, but I think it's like most things. There's an app on the phone, a way to get into the place. There's also stuff inside. I think they might have some charge. I don't know if they've got charging yet or not, but certainly a secure way of putting your bike inside and a way of getting out. There's tracking. And I think it's as simple as that. It's a way of getting in, which is secure, and keeping your bike in there, which is secure. Outside, they provide either advertising on the surface, or if the community pays for it, they don't have advertising. It's a simple model.
And there'd be no time limitation on how long someone could keep their bike there.
I don't know, to be honest. It's a fair question. I don't know. It's a great question. Yeah, you wouldn't want somebody's putting their bike there for 5 years and just leaving it there.
Okay, thank you.
And I put the link to their website in the chat. Paul had asked me to do that, and I had to find it again. So you have Sharon Pope, Marshall, and then Rita Popper, and then Craig later.
Thank you very much. And Elizabeth, while 9 times out of 10, I agree with you on everything, I would like to suggest that we leave the maker of this particular bike storage system, leave the name in the resolution. And basically because of a couple of reasons. One is that this is a study. At the end of the day, we're asking the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation to take a look at, essentially the only game in town, which is the Onipod. And they can decide whether they're going to go with that particular company, or they can decide that it is entirely inappropriate to have bike parking storage within either the redesign or even on Roosevelt Island. So the resolution was developed in a way as to really leave the path open for the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation to exercise some due diligence in terms of what they think is needed in consultation with the Roosevelt Island community as well as stakeholders. So I would be opposed to taking out this particular commercial entity. At this juncture, they're really the only game in town, as Paul alluded to previously. And their pods are actually quite beautiful. And if I could also mention one last thing, I think that Paul did a fabulous job in summarizing the resolution. I really like the idea of being able to provide a safe place for cyclists to lock up their bikes in order to enjoy our community as pedestrians and support our businesses. So it's not, we're taking it one step further. It's not simply to provide safe parking, which is 100% critical no matter what, but also there's the idea that it will encourage people to say, hey, let's walk on the Esplanade, let's walk on our on the streets, let's patronize our businesses, because there is the opportunity to park your bikes safely.
Who's next? Thank you, Sharon. And Sharon wrote the resolution, so thank you, Sharon. Who's
Rami
next?
has his hand up, followed by Rita.
Call the question.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think first we have to vote on the amendment. And just make one more question. What if the resolution used commercially neutral language but incorporated the specific benefits that you associate with UNI?
I think we want to keep the name UNI.
Fine. Okay. All right. So let's vote on the amendment.
Can we repeat the amendment so that everyone knows what they're voting on?
Yeah. So
And
the
then
resolution, the resolution states that we're requesting the installation of unipods. The amendment proposed was to change it to take out the name of UNI and just refer to bike parking. Elizabeth can.
If I may
correct
just
me.
correct one thing, can I correct one quick thing? We're not actually asking them to install anything. We're just saying REOC to study the feasibility of
You're right.
deploying these. And I don't want to overstate it.
No, you're 100% right. Apologies for that
That's all right.
misstatement by myself.
I'd love to hear from Craig. I know his hand's been up.
And Elizabeth, does that match what your amendment was? Can we unmute Elizabeth?
Yes, it absolutely does match. Thank you for articulating it well. And thank you, Will, for putting the UNI website in the chat. This is basically selling large advertising billboards in public space.
All right, the question's been called. So at this point, we're just doing voting or points of information if that's what people have.
All right. So I hope everyone's hands up and that they're up for the vote. So I'm going to call on Craig.
Now.
Barbara. Barbara? We'll wait on Barbara.
No. I got it.
Judy?
Do you hear me? It's a no.
Okay, thank you. Judy?
A no.
Addison?
Apologies. I have a very quick point of information. When we ask that the Roosevelt Island Operating Commission explores deploying this, are we saying that we are suggesting that, like, does UNI install it themselves at no cost because they're going to assume that they're getting money from that, or does the Operating Commission pay?
There are two ways of doing it. It could be either or. It's a negotiation.
Okay.
Do you want to pay for it or do you want to have advertising? And
Got
the New
it.
York City ones have not had advertising. They've been paid for by the city.
Okay. Come back to me one second. I'm just going to think about it for one more second. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll mark you as pass. Michelle?
So it's a funny situation because I'm going to vote no on the whole resolution. But if there were to be one, I would like this amendment in it. So I don't know how to parse that.
You should vote. This is just the vote on the,
amendment.
So, okay, so I'll say, okay, I'll abstain on the amendment.
Okay. Police?
No.
Chuck?
No.
John Phillips?
Abstain?
David?
No.
Paul?
Just so I'm clear, this is voting on the amendment, which I'm voting no to the amendment.
Got it. Bill?
No.
Rita?
No.
Andrea?
No.
Sharon?
No.
Lori?
No.
And back to Addison. Oh, let's go to Addison before we continue the vote.
I'll turn my pass into an abstain.
Got it. Next is Gail.
No.
And then Will Sanchez.
No.
I'll give everyone else a minute or two. I'll get you the final vote count in a second, but I do believe the amendment passed.
I see a hand up from Michelle.
yeah, we can call on her in the meantime. So,
Call the question on the amendment.
on the,
Excuse me, on the original resolution, sorry.
yeah, as amended or not.
Russell,
There's
can
a
I just clear
second
one
from
thing
Marco.
up? This is the actual resolution as amended to say not the word uni, but providing, deploying protected and enclosed bike storage without the name uni. That's what we're voting on now, right?
Correct. If the amendment passed, I mean, I think we still don't have the.
Oh,
go ahead. Chuck's.
I mean, I'm like
waving his hand.
99.9% sure it's passed.
What's the issue? I think Chuck has a point of order.
Chuck has a point of order. Chuck, go ahead and unmute. Thanks.
If this passes, there's no need for any more vote. That takes the place of the original resolution.
It wasn't a substitute. It wasn't a substitute resolution. It was an amendment.
Well, the amendment changes it completely. You don't have to vote. I don't think you have to vote on the, even though they didn't say it was a substitute, you're right on that, but.
We did it as an amendment.
That's a lot of waste of time.
Rami, you're on mute, I think.
He's right, but I'll take a vote if need be.
Yeah, let's vote on the resolution as amended, which Michelle called the question on, which I seconded.
If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for calls on the original resolution, please raise your hand. Chuck.
It's not the original resolution, it's the amended resolution.
The amended resolution.
The amended
Chuck?
resolution.
No.
Michelle,
No,
Valerie,
No.
John Phillips,
Abstain.
Barbara Rutter.
I don't understand what we're voting for. Are we voting without
We're voting on the resolution, including the amendment.
which?
Right, so we're voting on
says
the
no
resolution.
use Any name,
Right.
then I'm voting no. I thought we already voted on that. Didn't we vote on that?
We voted on whether to change the resolution or not.
Addison,
Abstain.
Rita,
No.
Bill,
No.
Sharon,
Okay, I think I'm a little confused myself. So the resolution that we're voting on is without the commercial entity.
Correct.
Okay. I'll pass.
okay, pass. Lori,
I think I'm going to pass also, but can I just ask a point of information? I realize everybody has asked this already, but I'm still not clear. The original resolution included a sponsor, correct? And then we had an amendment which failed. Didn't it fail or did it pass?
The amendment passed.
The amendment passed to say that it wasn't going to have a sponsor, correct?
Right.
Okay, and so now we're voting on the amended resolution.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay, I think I'm still gonna pass. Go ahead.
okay, pass. Gail,
No.
I'm gonna go back to the passes. Sharon,
I'm going to support it, Raymond. I'm going to
Okay.
support it.
Lori,
No.
resolution passes. Sandrea, can you repeat that? No?
No.
Resolution passes. I'll have the tally in a minute.
And in the meantime, I'll read the last vote on the amendment. It passed with a vote of 25 yes, 14 no, and 3 abstentions.
Okay, we have nothing else from our committee, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we will go to the Women and Families Committee and Gail and Peggy.
Thanks, Russell. In our minutes, you can see that at our October 26th meeting, we covered 2 topics. The first was domestic violence, and the second was childcare at community board meetings. The New York City Council has been considering legislation about making childcare available at all public meetings, and the council queried public agencies as well as the community boards to find out how they might provide childcare services. And this was in concert with the thought about the current suspension of the open meeting laws requiring in-person attendance. And when that's lifted, then what happens? And how can we ensure that parents are able to participate? At our meeting, it was determined that probably the only viable solution was hybrid meetings for parents to be able to have participation. Now, this morning, Russell raised concerns that the call for hybrid meetings in the resolution could be preempting our community board discussion down the road as far as hybrid versus in-person meetings, how we're going to handle things. We know we've extended the thought of hybrid meetings 3 months after the open meeting laws suspends what we now are able to do. So it was Peggy's thought and my thought that the way to handle this would be to withdraw the resolution at this time and reintroduce it later. And so I would like to move to table the resolution, which is included in our Women and Families October 26th committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you.
All right,
May
so
we
that's not debatable, so we're going to go straight
take
to
a
a
vote?
vote.
Thank you.
All right, let's lower all the hands. If you'd like to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
I just want to say that we are planning at this point to revisit the issue of childcare at our January meeting. This is a huge issue for our community with its many families, and we have members on the board with children. So we really would like all of you to attend this meeting, and we will be providing more information on it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we will go to the Budget Committee. Billy and Felice.
Okay, thank you. The Arts Committee had made a presentation requesting additional funding for some of their events. They recently had a very successful art show. Originally, their proposal was much larger and was a request for funding to do a lot of advertising. We realized that a lot of the things that were being requested, we could fund through. I really didn't need additional funding, that we could get some free media, get news articles about the art show, do other things to promote the activities of the Arts Committee. So the request was narrowed to just look at funding for salsa lessons and a few ancillary expenses to support the events of the Art Committee. It was a total of $900 that they were looking for. It was approved by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9-2. Are there any questions? Gail? And then Rebecca.
Thank you. Alita asked me to speak on behalf of the Arts Committee, and we want to thank the board for your ongoing support. We think that the $900 will allow us to have one salsa lesson with an instructor and a DJ, and the other ancillary expenses really should be minimal. We found with the art show, number one, we don't have to worry that much about promotion. It seems to continue to grow. We have had over 60 artists who participated this year, which we were very excited about. And it's been through the hard work of Peggy, who has gotten so much of the publicity for the show, and Rita Popper, who is incredible in getting James Cagney Way. Just in all of the people involved have been very supportive, from her building, and the staff of the building certainly has been marvelous. We know that our little miscellaneous expenses are things like balloons and tape, sometimes chalk, to be able to put together and measure the various spaces for the artist. We are planning on February 11th to have a craft show. We're looking for donated space. We don't think that we're going to need any additional funding for that. There may be just $50, giving tips, something of that sort. We also are going to look to have JREC and some other groups, music groups perform that we will not have to provide a stipend for. If it's in the summer, we'll want to buy them some ice cream. We're talking to the Origin Theater to have some readings, perhaps Shakespeare. And I think that the real reason that we're so enthusiastic about the committee and its activities is that we are able to use the Arts Committee as a major outreach tool for the community board. The number of candidates tonight who have said, well, people don't really know about us. We had close to 50 people sign up for our newsletter at the last art show alone. So I would certainly encourage the board to approve the $900 for the Arts Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Next up is Rebecca and then Rami.
Yeah, so I just wanted to speak a little bit about the later half of the resolution, which was about prioritizing our ability to fund other costs for the art committee in the future. If you haven't served on the budget committee previously, you might not know that we always have kind of excess funds that we always debate on how we're going to spend them each year. We've decided to prioritize, if at all possible, spending them to support the efforts of the Arts Committee, but then also we requested for them to reach out to our elected officials to seek grants for funding in the future, because we want to make sure we can fund and support their work moving forward, and we don't really have the budget as of now to be able to do so.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next up is Rami and then Marco.
I want to call the question, but if someone is opposed to that, you could shake your head. Okay, I'm calling the question. We're calling the question. We're voting on this.
Okay, so
I need a
who's
second.
taking the vote?
I think it's me. Yeah, I'm taking the vote. If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand. Marco.
No.
Michelle.
No.
John.
I'm gonna vote no because I don't really understand exactly what this is about and the whole setup of it. So I'll vote no, but again, I'm very, very unclear about this.
It's yeah, it's just a question of whether to allocate $900 for the Arts Committee to use for upcoming events from our budget.
And I guess I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Face value.
Resolution passes 40-2.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move now to, I'm not aware of any old business, so let's do new business. On Rami.
Marco, go ahead. Yield to Marco.
Thank you. I just want to mention something about now is our old business, I think so, about the school on 78th Street. I just checked in the building department records. And
we can't, I'm sorry, Marco, we can't go back. We already voted on the item. We already addressed the item. So we can't rehash a discussion that we already had or an item that we
I'm not asking to discuss. I just want to give you information about that, what we didn't have at that time.
It's just further discussion. We can't, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to give you the information and that's it.
No.
So
We can't do that. We can't go back. We cannot go back on stuff we've already dealt with. Rami.
Point of order, the previous resolution was 42-2, my stand corrected, as well as a motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second to the motion to adjourn? Yes, okay.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? No, great, all right, thank you, everybody. Wait, no.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, okay, take care.